Good morning. Welcome to our first Board of Supervisors meeting for January, for 2016, January 5th, 2016. I just got a question. How come you guys are all sitting in the back row? I mean, there's a whole front row that's empty, actually. That's the new front row, I guess.
We'd like to leave the front for citizens.
Okay. So, could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. All right, so we're going to start off this morning with some recognition and acknowledgments. And first, got to put my glasses on. We're going to recognize Dennis Siebel, right? Seibel? Okay. Is he here? No. Camera shy. Okay. So I guess I'll just read it. All right. So are you going to accept it for him? Okay. All right. So this is a proclamation recognizing and honoring Dennis Seibel, Road Maintenance Supervisor, for 33 years of distinguished public service in the Public Works Department. 33 years. That means I was like 3 when he started. So whereas Dennis Siebel has served the public for 33 years in positions of increasing knowledge and diversity since January 1983. And whereas Dennis brought talent, experience, hard work, and positive attitude to fulfill the responsibilities of his various duties and assignments. And whereas the county and our citizens have benefited from Dennis's abilities, adaptability, and knowledge of the local roads. And whereas Dennis will be missed by the road crews who found him a devoted leader, friend, and co-worker. And whereas Dennis is well regarded in the community, having earned the trust and confidence of Calaveras County citizens. Therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, on this 5th day of January 2016, honors and thanks Dennis Siebel for his 33 years of contributions to the public. And can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
I have a motion by Supervisor Oliver and a second by Supervisor Wright. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comments. Public comments on Dennis.
You didn't read the last page.
I will.
I worked as hard as I could to get Dennis to show up today, and he steadfastly refused.
He's gone.
No, he's not.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He still has a few more days left. Then it actually is official in February because he has a lot of vacation stored. But in my short time here, I've learned a lot from Dennis. I counted on him during the first days of the fire. He was leading the crews that were taking FEMA and Cal OES around to the various sites. And he has history and knowledge, I think, of every inch of pavement that we've got and all of the operations that we do to keep our roads and bridges operational. Dennis is heading off to the greener pastures of Nebraska, where he thinks the fish are hungrier and the weather better. So I wish him well and thank him so much for his service to the department.
Great.
Thank you, John.
Hungrier and better weather in Nebraska.
Okay. That's what he's claiming.
Bigger mosquitoes, too. So be it further proclaimed that the board wishes Dennis a long and happy road in the years ahead. And may the fishing and hunting be good. May the fish bite, and may your family prosper. Thank you, Dennis, for your service to Calaveras County.
Thank you, Dennis.
So is Jack here?
He's not
Okay, so we have another proclamation recognizing and honoring Jack Thorbrogger, Road Maintenance Worker 3, for 35 years of distinguished public service in the Public Works Department. You're not going to have anybody left that knows all these roads. So whereas Jack Thorbrogger has served the public for 35 years in the positions of increasing knowledge and diversity since September 1980. And whereas Jack brought talent, experience, hard work, and positive attitude to fulfill the responsibilities of his various duties and assignments. And whereas the county has benefited from Jack's knowledge of the local roads and people who travel them. And whereas Jack will be missed by the road crews who found him a devoted friend and co-worker. And whereas Jack is well regarded in the community, having earned the trust and confidence of Calaveras County citizens. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Board of Supervisors, County of Calaveras, this 5th day of January 2016, honors and thanks Jack
I'm sorry.
Thorbrogger for his 35 years of contributions to the public. Can I have a motion, please, for that?
So moved. Second.
Okay, do I have any public comments? Jack?
I think there's something about being a road maintenance worker at the county that says I don't want to show up at the Board of Supervisors to be recognized for my years of work and career. Jack worked up West Point Glencoe for his career. I'm sure that those of you who live up there know of him and his work. Never afraid to give me the honest truth about what's going on. But again, like Dennis, he's been a dedicated public servant doing great work for a long time. And I think that the county owes him a debt of gratitude. So thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it further proclaimed that the board wishes Jack Thorbrogger a long and happy road in the years ahead, with just enough potholes to fill and snow to plow to keep retirement interesting.
Wait a minute, he's a snowplow operator?
So, thank you, Jack, for your years of service, too. Public service is not the easiest thing to do, and these folks here endured it for quite a few years. I hope the rest of us can. All right, we have one more. And this one, I know they're here.
We have a whole, can we have a few minutes?
You start off.
Would that be okay? Thank you. Come on up over there. Good morning. Thank you for having us here today. I am Colleen Nunn, and I coordinate the Calaveras Youth Mentoring Program at the Calaveras County Office of Education. We're very happy to be here today to wish you a happy National Mentoring Month. And here today with me we have Catherine Eustace, our Director of Prevention Programs at the County Office of Education, and also 3 dedicated volunteer mentors, Mickey Williamson, Richard Gutierrez, and Pat Garahan. And we are using a slogan this month for National Mentoring Month that comes from one of our mentors. At the end of each of his weekly reports, he says, "Another great day with a great kid." So we are celebrating not only the benefit that comes to our young people through the friendship with people like our mentors here today, but also the fun and satisfaction that our volunteers receive through mentoring. So if you wouldn't mind, if we could give each of our mentors a minute to share why they enjoy mentoring. Yeah, thank you. Mickey, you want to talk first?
Well, I have to start out by saying that I've been a mentor for almost a year, and when I was going through the application process last year, it took me a long time to get to the point of being able to say yes. And I confess that part of that was because I was concerned about my time. You know, what will this take from my time? And I've realized in being a mentor to a wonderful 12-year-old girl now for almost a year is that what that weekly time with her does is it adds to my time. It does not take away from it. And There have been a variety of wonderful moments, some of which are funny, like the time when she asked me if it was fun being old. and other more moving moments when I asked her at the end of last year what were some of the highlights of her year. And after she'd said a few kind of concrete things, she paused and said, and I think the fact that I opened up to people this year. So it is a very rewarding thing. And you know, it's also for me about community, because this morning, Colleen asked some of us if we could be here, and when I got up this morning and saw the weather, I thought, I don't want to drive from Murphy's. I really don't. I want to stay home. But being part of the mentoring program is part of how I give to community, and so it wasn't about me again. It was about showing up for something that I care about. Thank you.
Well, I've been a mentor. I haven't been a mentor as long as she has, but I just started this last year. I was looking forward to it. Colleen's been talking to me about it for the last 2-3 years. My wife's a mentor, again, returning as a mentor. And last year I just stopped working. I just decided to quit working, and that allowed me to have the free time to meet with my mentor. I didn't want to get into a commitment where I was constantly having to cancel. And I really enjoy getting together with him, sharing ideas. He's a 5th grader at Michelson. The questions, sharing some of my travels in the world, in the U.S., and just being around and coming up with ideas for projects. You know, what are we going to do with our 2 to 3 hours that we get together to share on a weekly basis? And it's really been, for me, it's a real learning experience when you start talking to people, to a young person, and they ask you questions and you start thinking about things that maybe you hadn't thought about in the last 20 or 30 or 40 years. And so for myself, it's also been a real improvement in my life to be able to share my time and experiences with this young man. Thank you.
I didn't think we'd be tricked into speaking here this morning, but I'll take a moment. I've been in the mentoring program a bit over 2 years, going into my 3rd year now, and I've been very fortunate to be paired up with a young man who's a fantastic scholar and athlete. It's been a pleasure to see him growing into a fine human being. I get as much, if not more, out of the program than he does. And what I will say is I've been involved in a lot of organizations and programs, and the youth mentoring program is, in my opinion, one of the best administered and cared for, whatever term you want to use, organized thing I've been involved in, and it's been a pleasure to be a part of the program, in no small part to these 2 ladies right here. Thank you.
We also brought some materials so that you can know which young people are waiting for mentors right now, if we can share that, and our Calaveras County Office of Education annual report, which features all 3 of our mentoring programs. Yeah, in the center. Mm-hmm.
Our section.
Oh, nice.
Lauren designed this. Lauren made it.
Yeah. So thank you for recognizing National Mentoring Month. Cliff, do you want us to read the proclamation, or do you want to read it? Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, come on.
So I get an honor doing this. Board of Supervisors, Calaveras County, City, California. It's a proclamation recognizing January as National Mentoring Month and January 21st, 2016 as Mentoring Day. Thank you, Mentor Day.
Right. And so we recommend that everybody who's ever had any kind of mentor in their life take a moment to remember and thank them.
Good idea. So whereas the future of Calaveras County rests on hopes and dreams of its children and youth, and whereas too many of our youth face struggles with alcohol and other drugs, gangs, teen pregnancy, and educational failures. Whereas mentors provide valuable role models for our youth, Whereas relationships with caring mentors offer youth valuable support, friendship, and guidance toward making healthy life decisions. And whereas research has shown that mentored youth are less likely to skip school, less likely to start using drugs, less likely to start drinking. And whereas mentoring after-school programs, mentor coalitions, and public and private organizations throughout California are committed to increasing the number of quality mentors available. Whereas there are Calaveras youth in 1st through 12th grades waiting for mentors. And whereas National Mentoring Month provides an opportunity to recognize and commend the efforts of mentors and raise community awareness of the importance of mentoring. And now, therefore, it be resolved, the Board of Supervisors of Calaveras County hereby declares 2016 as National Mentoring Month, January 21st, 2016 as Thank You Mentor Day. And can I have a motion, please, by the board?
So moved.
A motion by Supervisor Fonte.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Curdy. All in favor?
Aye.
Public comments. Public comments on it? I'll make one. So my wife has become a mentor, and we went through the class in these or late on
Which is an hour-long meeting which anyone can attend to learn more about mentoring without making a commitment.
just to kind of find out what you're getting into, which is actually probably a positive thing in your life. If you ever get a chance to mentor these young people, they end up mentoring you as well. So be it further resolved that the Board of Supervisors encourages Calaveras residents to honor the role models in their lives by becoming mentors to local youth. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so now we have public comment. Public comment is any item of interest to the public that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board and is not posted in consent or regular agendas. Maybe address it during the public comment period. California law prohibits the board from taking action on any matter which is not posted on the agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the Board of Supervisors. If public comment is completed before the 30-minute allotted time period, the board may immediately move to the regular agenda. If public comment is not completed during the allotted time period, it will be continued at the conclusion of the consent agenda in order to provide an opportunity for the remainder of comments to be heard. So do I have public comments? It's going to be an easy day, huh?
Good morning, Mark Bolger, Mountain Ranch, also on the board of directors of the Calaveras Cannabis Alliance. First off, I'd like to thank the board for going into the late hours at the last meeting. I know that dragged on for quite a bit. Complicated issue, a lot of ins, a lot of outs. Thank you for your time on that. I know we had discussed the matter of priority consideration at the state level and the fact that there was a January 1st deadline. I know we're all on the same page that most counties in California have not addressed this yet. I know that us not addressing it at the last issue was not a deal breaker for anything at the state level. What I'd like to do is provide you with a commercial cannabis activity registration form that Humboldt County has produced. I think it's very clear, concise. I think it'd be a very good model for our county to look at. I think there are a couple issues with it that might need to be tailored to our specific county, but I think it's a good framework to look at. Beyond that, Councilor Matthew Clark, who was here last time, had suggested a resolution, or I believe that's what a county council had said would be able to be done to acknowledge what good standing has been prior to January 1st. I don't think this form has to be enacted instantly. I think that pursuing, a resolution that states people that were in compliance with Proposition 215 and following state law would be a quicker way of going about it, but I do think that this is a good form that could be used as a framework by our county. So I'd like to submit that, if that's all right. And that's all. Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year's. Any other public comments?
Good morning, Board. My name is Bill McManus with the Calaveras Project. I'm here today to offer my apologies to the Board that for the last 14 to 16 months, while I've attended almost every meeting that you've had, along with the Planning Commission, and given you material and data, booklets, and hundreds of pages of information, I've now come to the conclusion that I failed to properly convey the information to you. The reason I sense that now is an article that appeared in the Calaveras Enterprise on Christmas Day, in which the chairman of the board is quoted as saying, "I don't know what their business is, I don't know how they're doing their business or anything like that, so you're asking me to make a decision on something I don't really know that much about." And it I guess it is the general attitude of the board. It's kind of shocking to me. So all I can say is that I've failed to properly inform you. Otherwise, that probably shouldn't be the case. One other item from the last meeting, there was a claim made that the growing, industrial growing in the county has produced 4,000 jobs. Along with that, there were comments made, kind of out of order, but in any case made, that those included jobs that were legal, like pay taxes, Social Security and withholding and all the rest. Well, I'm surprised it didn't raise a flag for you to at least ask a question about it. That's a lot of jobs. I think the news would be that Calaveras County would end up with the lowest unemployment rate in the state of California, and that would be spread across the state. So what I did is after Christmas, I did some research, and I pulled up a 25-year history of unemployment by month for Calaveras County. Also pulled up a 15-year history of unemployment by industry in Calaveras County, and pulled up information about Calaveras County right now. And in going through all these numbers, I didn't print them up to hand out. Normally I'd do that, but apparently that's a wasted effort. There's no 4,000 in these numbers, in these forms. There's no 4,000 people here. So either the claim of 4,000 is a lie, or the claim that they pay taxes is a lie, or perhaps both of it is. But they don't show up here. 25 years has never been more than 800 people variance, excuse me, between the highest number of employed and the lowest number of employed. There hasn't been a 4,000-person swing in the entire 25 years of this report. This is available online from the EDD office. It's called LMI, which is labor market information part of EDD. So if you're interested, you might be able to, you might want to look it up and see. Currently, the areas, the census described places, and since we don't have cities here, of the highest unemployment in Calaveras County right now seem to be the areas that should be having these 4,000 people work, which is McCollum Hill, Mountain Ranch, and West Point. So that information just doesn't seem to jive with anything that was said here. So I thought I would at least bring it up, and if you're interested, I can either give you the link or you can check with EDD. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments there you go?
Just quick, since I'm here, and it's the first of the year, seems like a good time. I know that I don't always agree with a lot of the things that come out of this board, but I do want to take the opportunity to thank you for doing what you're doing. It's not a very probably popular and thankful job, so I just want to make sure that occasionally you do get thanked for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year there, Bonnie.
Happy New Year.
Good morning. I too have information to share about the subject you talked about a couple meetings ago, medical marijuana. It became apparent to me that there was a piece of the puzzle missing when you all were asking questions about primary caregivers. What I've passed out to you, of course, is the Compassionate Use Act of 1996, in which primary caregivers are referred to 3 times, and the final paragraph is the definition of what a primary caregiver is in reference to legalized marijuana, medical marijuana. The second page shows the process which a primary caregiver needs to go through in order to acquire the authority to assist a user. And it consists of, first of all, you have to have, on page 3, documentation of a doctor's diagnosis of a condition that would allow the use of medical marijuana, including acquired immune deficiency syndrome, which is AIDS, anorexia, arthritis, cachexia, I don't know what that is, cancer, chronic pain, glaucoma, migraine headaches, persistent muscle spasms, including but not limited to spasms associated with multiple sclerosis, seizures, including but not limited to seizures associated with epilepsy, severe nausea, and any other chronic pain or persistent medical condition that either limits the ability or can cause serious harm. In my assistance with my client, we found it necessary to go to Cool in Placer County with our doctor's diagnosis, where the doctor would evaluate the condition of the patient and make a recommendation that medical marijuana would assist in that condition. From that point, we got 2 pieces of paper, one authorizing the patient to use medical marijuana and the other authorizing a grower, which could be the patient, to grow up to a certain amount of plants. From that point, we go to the county health department, where we are allowed to get a medical marijuana card, and I have 2, both, so you could see what they look like, outdated, but allows the patient and the care provider access to travel anywhere in the state. And in those days, we would go to the Bay Area because there were no dispensaries in this area. I've included my medical marijuana authorization, which I no longer use because it gets to be quite expensive. And one of the ladies commented before that these people don't look sick. All they want to do is smoke pot. Well, I've brought with you my medical marijuana, which is a salve. And I'd like to share that with you. You can open it up and smell it if you'd like to. It doesn't smell like anything, but it's used for chronic pain. And it really didn't work. I don't have chronic pain. I have sharp shooting pain that goes up my neck and into my arm. But it can be used to be applied to arthritis, joints, your shoulder, and after a while it may alleviate some of the muscle spasms and some of the pain associated with condition. What I wanted to say also is that primary caregivers have been given a great responsibility, not necessarily a right, but a responsibility by which we take very seriously and feel important to maintain. Your dealings last time was with the commercialization of medical marijuana. We're going back to the first steps where it's allowed for the patient. And I thank you. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks.
I'm going to get my stuff.
Any other public comment?
Jeff Krovitz, Public Works Director. As you know, I've been working on a number of grants for butte fire restoration, and that's not what this is about. I've been utilizing some expert volunteers, retirees from our community who have been instrumental in my ability to pursue these grants. So I do want to introduce Jan Bray and John and Ann Heiselbutt. They're here to talk during public comment specifically about the future, what can be done, what they are working on in their field of interest for how we can protect ourselves against future events. Thank you.
Good morning, board, staff, and Chairman Edson. We've met before. I have a bio of our volunteer team that I'll share with you, and you can take a look. We've been, before the Butte Fire, we've been working on grants in both Calaveras and Amador counties, and our goal is to improve land management in both counties. So we've been working on pieces of BLM land and also some private land in both counties prior to the Butte Fire and then post-Butte Fire as well. And we're looking at the future as far as what we can do to provide services to both counties and improve our situation so we don't have a repeat of the Butte Fire. So we will be, I wanted to make sure that you know who we are and when you hear our name, what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we will be working in the future on a community wildfire protection plan in the McCullamy watershed, and we will be coming to you for that with more information and potentially asking for a very small amount of Title III money that you get annually. So it either goes to search and rescue, Sheriff's Department, or Fire Safe Councils, and that's essentially we've been in contact with both Amador Fire Safe Council and the local Calaveras Foothills Fire Safe Council, and they're very supportive of what we're doing. So,
great.
Any questions?
Sure. Can I get you have your contacts here so that I'd like to meet with you guys.
Okay, I'll get my business card and give that to you.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to our regular agenda. You want me to do it or you take it?
The first item on the regular agenda is one that is normally done at the first board meeting in the first item, and that is the election of the 2016 chair and vice chair.
Okay. It's open for the board to speak.
So I'd like to speak, and I'd like to thank Chair Edson and Vice Chair Wright for their services last year. I think last year was an extraordinary year as a result of the Butte Fire and the way things were handled and the leadership given from our chair and board chair and vice chair. And I thank you very much for the time and the commitment, because I know it was a lot of extra time and commitment in your roles and your leadership roles on the board. And with that, I'd like to nominate Chris Wright as chair for 2016.
I can appreciate that, and I know that tradition would probably say that that's the way to go. I think everybody on the board put their best foot forward. There was a lot of extraordinary work going on. I don't know that anyone, myself included, ever anticipated the Butte fire. I did fully feel that there was going to be a fire, but I didn't feel it would destroy a good bit of the people that in their homes that reside in this county. I know by tradition that what has been nominated by Supervisor Pawnee would be the way to go, but there's been a lot of work done with the Butte fire recovery, and we are not even halfway through it at this point. I would nominate Cliff Edson and the current leadership to stay in the place that they're in for one more year.
I have to concur with Supervisor Kearney. I view this situation, this crisis, as continuing on for at least the next couple of years, if not even longer. The leadership that we have in Chairman Edson and our Vice Chair, Chris Wright, needs to continue at least for the next year. I would second the nomination of Chairman Edson to continue as Chairman of the Board for this coming year.
Any other comments, you guys? Public comments?
I'm just concerned. There was a nomination on the floor and it wasn't dealt with, and then there was a second nomination. It doesn't seem like that's the right process. I'm asking like a point of order. Is that?
Okay. All right, we can take care of that.
Okay. Then I would also like to say, if there's time for public comments, are you going to take care of that first?
What would you like, Bonnie?
Well, I'd like to put in my 2 cents as usual.
Go for it.
I think maybe we got to clear up the situation first. I don't want to speak it to council advice.
Ultimately, when there is a motion, you need to clear it up. It appeared that there was more discussion to be had. So what procedurally should happen is, because Supervisor Ponte made a motion, we should ask for a second. If there is, in fact, a second, there needs to be public comment before any action is taken by the board. So you can handle each motion respectively, but ultimately, before any action is taken, any vote is taken, public comment needs to be had.
All right, so here's what we'll do then. We'll take Supervisor Ponte's motion. Is there a second? No point in that. Me making a second. You can. Well, that would be okay. You can. No. So, okay.
So I have further comment if I can make it.
Sure.
So, my reason for nominating Chris Wright is that he was in a vice chair position this last year, and he too dealt with many issues in regards to the Butte fire. And so I think there has been some experience in that regards in carrying forward. Mr. Wright has served in the capacity on this board for the last 3 years. He has a 4th year left on his term. He has opted not to run for election. So I think he has an opportunity to be a very clear head for this next year as we look forward. The Butte fire will be an ongoing issue. It's not going to be resolved in 1 year. It's probably going to be 3, 5, 7, 10 years as we rebuild from the Butte fire. So that's why I made the recommendation to allow for Chris to step into the leadership role and carry on as I think he can and will do a fine job for this board and giving us direction as we move forward into 2016. So this is no disrespect to Chair Edson, because as I noted, I think he's done a very fine job as well. And he has announced that he is running for election, so his plate will be full in doing so. And this will allow for Mr. Wright to carry forward in a chair capacity without any concerns about election or not, and filling his role as chair. And, the Butte Fire does basically represent his district in the rebuild as we look forward in the years to come.
Thank you for that, Ben. I appreciate that.
It's true. I believe that.
Yeah, and I think one of the good parts about the rotation is that it does give each district a chance of having that extra voice as chair, and I like that opportunity to do that. Put in my time, and I'm going to continue to put in my time this year, regardless of the chair position. But I do think that that's the more appropriate thing to do, being that it is my district that where the fire was devastated. So I really like that opportunity, guys. I think I'll do a good job. And my style will be different than Cliff's, but I will be very dedicated to the county and to my district of fire rebuilding. And I've been participating in a lot. Obviously there's positions that Cliff has that I can't I can't equal some of the hard work and dedication that Cliff has. I don't think anybody can, but I am pretty effective, and I'm very dedicated and very passionate about rebuilding my district in this next year, and I just feel that District 2 needs that extra voice as chair. So I'd appreciate the opportunity. If you guys give me that chance, I won't let you down.
I don't think anybody is saying anything is disrespectful of any member on this board. I would like myself the opportunity to learn the chair position and the responsibilities that go with it. During this break, I was reminded when I did my own tour again through the fire-affected areas, how much there has to go. And honestly, Cliff has made more contact with anybody going forward, and there is a certain prestige that goes with being the chair that gives him that contact to help some of these areas recover. This is not a lack of confidence in any member of this board, because I believe that all of us worked hard in our own way. In my area, there were churches that were stepping up, and I saw what they did, and I continue to hear from people regarding the fire. This is a step away from tradition, and I'm stick with my nomination. I think that it is in the best interest of the county to continue with the leadership we have. Had this not happened, I would completely agree with everything that you said. But I'm not taking away from you, Chris, and I'm not taking away from the ability that I do believe you have. I am just saying, for the good of the county, I don't think the leadership should be changed at this moment, and that's why I've made the nomination that I did.
So I need a second.
In this role, can the chair make a second?
I thought Mike already made it.
No, he's talking about
Debbie's.
The chair can always second. I mean, typically it is not seen as a frequent practice, but if the motion would die for lack of a second, the chair certainly has the opportunity to second the motion.
Thank you for that clarification.
And so this is one of the reasons why I will not second, because constantly all year long I've been put in the same position to do this, and because of part of it's my position to do that, I guess. But I think that we're in the middle of it's like somebody told me, you don't change horses in the middle of a race. And we are in quite the middle of something that is extraordinary for the county. And I know that a lot of people may forget about it already. It is not done. There are a lot of issues going on right now that need attention, and I think it requires attention from a source that's been consistently there. So, other than that, I have no issue. So, that's why I won't second. So now I can have public comments. Thank you.
Just to be clear, it's my understanding the motion has died for lack of a second.
Well,
Supervisor Ponte's motion died for lack of a second. If there was another motion, then that can be addressed now. But again, before any motion is taken action on, public comment needs to be had. So you can have public comment now.
I want to have public comments on the first
full
motion.
discussion.
I want to have public comments on the first motion.
That was Debbie Ponte's motion. Okay, Bill McManus, the Calaveras project. It's not without precedent that, vice chair has been stepped around. I think a few years ago, for whatever reason, Darren Spellman was a vice chair and did not become chairman of the board. So it's a fairly recent happening, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I appreciate, all the board's work. Supervisor Wright obviously has a heavier load to lift up in his district, and I think without the burdens of being the chair, he can do more to help the people of his district recover from the terrible tragedy that we've been through. It's also unique that we have so many new supervisors on the board where we can't look to someone who's been around for a while to take advantage of their experience to see us through until some more experience can be gained. I understand why it's going this way, and I completely agree with you. And we'll see what happens on the next motion. So I hope it goes the way it seems to be going. Thank you.
I have some problems and issues with this. I see this as an attempt to be self-serving and selfish and greedy in an attempt to retain power and control. I think it's time to share leadership. I do not think that the past year's leadership has been all that stellar. I have seen bullying occur. I have seen people shut up and shut down and yet allow certain people to have additional time to express themselves, and that was at our chair's decision. And for that reason, I think it's time for new leadership. I think it's time that we have a chance to experience all the skills that all the members of this board have, and we will be able to balance that. Otherwise, we're going to have 2 years of the same situation. And yes, we did disallow Darren Spellman, but he had shown himself to be a complete goofball on the forum as well as in the audience, not concerned with the welfare and the community's needs, but rather his own self-serving agenda. And I see this an attempt to thwart the regular method that we've all experienced, that all the members of this committee have a chance to show their leadership qualities in the position of chair, and to disallow somebody for no apparent reason except somebody's biases, I think is a slap in the face to the members of this community and an insult to the voters of Calaveras County.
Okay. Any other public comments?
Mark Bolger, Mountain Ranch. As someone that lives in District 2 and lost a great deal during the fire, I've been more than impressed and touched by everyone on the board's actions. Supervisor Wright, before the fire, during the fire, after the fire, has lent an extreme amount of emotional support, physical help to everybody in our community. I respect the board's decision on this, but I would like to say that I agree with Supervisor Ponte. Supervisor Wright has done an amazing job, as well as Chairman Edson and everyone. But I personally would like to see our district get the extra representation or ability that the position of chair that would award Supervisor Wright. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay. Any other public comments?
Good morning, George Fry. I support Supervisor Ponte. I think that it should rotate. I think that Chris should have the opportunity for his district to have him as the chair in rotation. I think that no offense to the chair, the current chair, and the two supervisors that support him being the chair for another year. That's not where I'm coming from. I would like to see Chris be the chair, and so, like I said, the people that elected him have the opportunity for him to help his constituents, see him get the job done that needs to be done in his district, given the fact that most of the fire was in his district, and the fact that the chair, by the very nature of being the chair, obviously had to step up. It would be totally inappropriate if he had not stepped up during the course of the Butte fire. And obviously he did, and he did an excellent job in stepping up. But I don't think we ought to go out of the rotation. I absolutely agree with the fact that Darren Stellman was not elected chair. There's no way I could have agreed to that, and everybody in this room probably wouldn't have agreed to that. But you have somebody here that worked tirelessly for the people in his district during the Butte fire, and not to elect him the chair after he's been the vice chair and worked very hard, that's really disappointing to me, very disappointing to me. And I hope you folks change your mind.
Thank you, George. Any other public comments? Any other board comments?
I have a comment. I'd like to clear something up. The decision I've made supporting Supervisor Kearney's motion has no reflection on the ability, on Supervisor's right ability to do this job in reference to prior supervisors. The decision was made on the basis of, once again, staying with a team through a crisis and seeing it through at least for the next year. I hope you understand that, Chris. Thank you.
No, I don't understand it. I think that in fact, if you guys may not remember, but when Cliff became chair the last year, basically we sat here and said, okay, you be chair this year and I'll be chair next year. That was the agreement we reached. And, you know, that was what we talked about last year. And so now to be like, oh, well, we're just going to keep it like this, it just seems just not the way to do business. not the way to do business at all. And I think that we should continue with the rotate because that's what we've agreed on. You said, think I can do the job. I think I can do the job. We'll see. You know, I think that Cliff is not going to go anywhere. He's still going to be here for this next year. He's still going to be able to help. It's not rocket science. You know, it's not like has special degrees that, you know, is needed for this. I've been involved on many levels, and I know I've done a lot of work in my district and outside of my district that I don't advertise because that's not who I am. And I'm also not running for re-election, so I don't advertise. That's part of the, you know, so you guys know that. But I just think that we agreed on this last year that I would be chair, and I think that I should be chair this year. That's true.
Any other comments?
No, I would just, I would hope that we could move forward and have Chris as chair in 2016. I think he demonstrates leadership qualities as any of us would on this board. And District 2 was drastically hit by this fire, and giving the citizens of District 2 an opportunity to have a leadership role on this board would be a good thing. And, you know, the leadership on this board is not just the Butte Fire. There are many things that go into the leadership role on the board. And I think Chris has that capacity to be broad-based about it. I mean, we're also faced with this year's challenges of the general plan, and doubtful it'll be done this year, but let's hope we're one step closer. We also have our leadership of the Sheriff's Department for consideration. We have our budget as we look at 2016 and 17, and we're not sure how the effects of the Butte Fire is going to hit the budget, but, you know, we have just many issues facing the board. And, you know, I think continuity is good, and I think we have that. Chris has been the vice chair. He's been aware of it. And, you know, I believe he can establish and reestablish these relationships we have with the other agencies and such. So, you know, I just don't see any reason why we can't move forward and have Chris as our chair.
Yes. Go ahead.
Rosemary Wilson, McCullamy Hill. Sorry I'm late. I was experiencing driving a U-Haul for the second time up from Arnold. And it seems like I've just come at, well, I don't know what to make of it. Obviously I didn't see or hear the initial, but to come in and there being a motion or about to be a motion on the table that somehow the normal way of handing over the chair position from the supervisor that used to be the vice chair and somehow changing that. I don't see any reason to change that. I just don't see it. And I think that, you know, it can't be because Chris is presumably not standing for another term. This is this coming term. I would be in favor of Chris staying on for a second term, but that's for him. But I don't see why Cliff is still going to be here. Chris is as perfectly a capable supervisor that I've seen on the board. And I've been, unfortunately or fortunately, coming to these meetings for multiple years. And I think it's a slight on Chris's achievements within the district, and I don't see why he can't be supervisor, not of the board this time. I just don't see it. Thank you.
Any other public comments? Okay. So once again, it comes down to me making those tough decisions, right? And so, you know, and I get to sit here and as hard a work as I've done this year, and I know that some people don't recognize it, which is fine, because I know what I did. And I believe that I was here through the whole fire, the whole thing. So, no, we weren't all here. Fine. So, I have issues around that. When District 2 caught on fire, everybody ended up in all over the place. Jackson, up in Debbie's area, up in Angels Camp, and largely in District 1. That's where they came. And no, they didn't want to. They had no choice. And so, and it was being managed as best as we could, but on every single day we were out there doing that. So I think it's important to those folks to know that they had somebody there for them. And it's something that I'm not going to ever forget. So the county is, in my opinion, needs to move forward. We economically are in a peril condition. So we should welcome opportunities for that. And in some cases we haven't. So I guess it's just a matter of dedication and philosophies. And and so no matter, and I can tell you right now, no matter what I say on this deal, some people are always going to disagree with me, always. And that's just the way it is. And I can't help that. But I have a responsibility to the county, and I have a responsibility to each district, actually, because I work for the county, the whole county, my district and the rest of the county too. And it was never more apparent until this Butte fire came along. And so I seen who stepped up to the plate on that. And it's important that in a situation this happened again, then what? We are in the middle of something that has to do with people's lives. Responsibility for people's lives. And we're making decisions for people's lives. And we have been through this whole thing. I take that very, very seriously. And we have watched the decline of our, even before the fire, of our economics, jobs, schools, and all of that. And we have continued in the past to push away opportunity. And I'm afraid of that happening. I don't want that to happen again. So it's a different way of looking at things, I guess.
So I do have one thing I want to say for them. So I do appreciate all the work you've done. And there's a lot of work to do. And I would have to thank all the emergency responders during the fire, Cal Fire, and our local fire departments did an amazing job this fire. Just an absolutely amazing job. And I think what's going on here is that Cliff really wants to do the right thing. He really wants, and I do believe this is what he thinks is the best thing for the county. And that having a healthy ego is part of being a leader, being a supervisor. But there's also a time when you push beyond that, and it's no longer healthy. And that's what I'm afraid is happening here, is that Cliff is taking on too much responsibility for things that are really beyond his position and his role in our community. And I think if you try to take that power on, you're going to, and it's hard for me because there's not a lot of power in the chair position. So it's not like he's going to be corrupted by all the power. But there's a certain level of that power is not a good thing to be concentrated in one individual. And that's why we have our system of government. And so by giving him this board chair a second time, I think it's a bad precedent going into the future. I mean, that's why we have this rotation now, is because we don't want to see one individual take over the county. And I don't think Cliff's going to do that. But the problem is that you can kind of see, you can see that he thinks that without him at the chair, things are going to fall apart or not move forward. And that's just not going to happen. What's going to happen is if me or him not in the chair and none of us in this chair, things are still going to move forward because there's hundreds and not thousands of people working not only for the Butte recovery, but also making this county a better place. So I just think that it's important not to give too much power or whatever you want to call it to this position, but at the same time, there isn't a lot of power in the position. So it's kind of a contradictory statement there. But I think that it's the rotation is a wise thing that people do. Otherwise, you just have Cliff's going to be the chair until he resigns, doesn't want to run again, or is defeated. I mean, be chair for the next 4-10 years. I mean, we're always going to have problems in the county. So, I mean, I would support skipping over me as vice chair and going to one of you guys to take the position rather than having Cliff. Not any disrespect to Cliff, but just that position should be a rotational position. So if you don't want me there, maybe we could have Steve or Mike there, or Debbie again. She was just there not so long ago. So one of those guys.
Chris, it's not wanting you. Being in the district adjacent to Cliff's district, I can tell you many times in the last months, there have been things that I have focused on to take responsibility off of him, and in turn, he's done things right from the get-go. He is the supervisor who stood up and said, why are we placing the CAL FIRE headquarters in Plymouth? And they got that moved before anybody else could get to it. And he's had more contact with what is going on up there than anybody. And District 1 did get burned also. There are issues up there, and he has had more contact with government officials beyond the body of the Board of Supervisors. This is not a slam on your ability at all. And I would not want you skipped over. If you were to run for re-election and re-elected, I would certainly support the next time having you go into the position. And who knows, maybe you change your mind and that's what does transpire. I can't tell you that. My recommendation is beyond.
I can definitely
Well,
reassure you that.
well, okay.
I'm not running for re-election.
Well, okay, and you have said that. My recommendation is based on the inside look of what has transpired, of the connections to the recovery from the Butte fire, and who has made more contact than myself or anybody up here with those who will progress the county going forward. I would not do this a year into this, providing that we recover. We have lost hundreds of homes. This is not like anything this county has ever faced. Honestly, the contact that has been made by the chair needs to continue until we get through this. And that's why I made the recommendation. It was not a lack of confidence in you. Had the Butte fire not happened, I would have probably been happy to see you in the position. That is why I have asked for this. I have seen the inside of what's been going on, and I have not had nearly the contact with the recovery that the chair has. I think this county has got to come through this so that we can go forward, and that's why I have nominated no change, including you as the vice chair, of which, although my nomination does not cover that at this time, I don't want to see a change in either one of you in what you do. I think the county needs some stability in the leadership, and I don't believe that Cliff is going to be a chair for another 5 years.
Well, we can't really say that because look what we said last year.
I can say I don't believe it. I can say that.
So, the role of the chair is to lead and conduct the meetings, to establish the agenda, to represent the board as a whole. I see if, whatever these relationships are, should be with all board members, with these agencies and such. But more importantly, if there's work that's been going on in a different committee or organization related to Butte or any other organization that we represent, then I think the chair would be most appropriate in saying you continue in that role. You continue being the lead representative in the ad hoc committee for this or the Cali OAS FEMA meetings or whatever it might be. I mean, to me, that is what a good chair does, is kind of distribute that and give some equal opportunity to all to participate. And I think that's what Chris can bring to the table. It's not to say that if Chris has been working on a particular project or with a particular committee, whether it's Butte Fire or anything else, that wouldn't continue. That's not always the chair of the role of the chair.
That could be delegated, yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't have to fall on one person. I mean, all of us have our districts to represent in addition to looking at the county as a whole, whether it's economic development, whether it's looking at a new sheriff, whether it's hiring a department head, establishing policy, whatever it might be. So, there seems to be this perception that as board chair, you're chair and responsible for all of these things, and that's just not true.
I don't think I said that a bit. In fact, I said I have taken...
You said relationships that have been established by the chair need to continue.
I believe that's true. The chair would have more access to that. And we're talking about relationships with FEMA, Cal OES. Cliff has established the relationships with them better than anybody, partially because he's here.
But Steve, we all have at different levels.
I don't think I said anything different than that.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing you say that Cliff is the only one who has a relationship with these agencies.
I'm saying that he has invested in having a relationship with these agencies, and they know him. And we have a county that is in the middle of a recovery. We've had forest fires here, but we've never had anything like this. And that is why I nominated him. Because I want that contact to continue so that next year at this time, we're not recreating something. We have finished what we've started.
I once again support the position of second on the motion. Supervisor Kearney. I have been in those situations where those contacts, that influence, paid off for the betterment of this county, especially during the Blue Jute fire. But I've also listened to my constituents. I've heard what they've said, and I take those words to be my direction and my decisions. And I stand by my decision to second the nomination for Supervisor Edson. And once again, there's no reflection on the abilities of Supervisor Wright. I hope he would continue as vice chair and continue doing the work he's doing. But once again, we have the county of Calaveras to think about, not just our districts. I'm sorry, we haven't got to that part yet.
Well, are you going to talk about it? So it was a commitment made last year between Chris and...
Come up to the mic, George.
I just want to know about the commitment that was made last year when I was here between Chris and Cliff.
Do we respond to that? Or do we have to, or are we required to?
You can if you want to. You can if you want to.
Yeah, that commitment was made between Cliff and, Supervisor Edson and Supervisor Wright. Supervisor Kearney and I was not part of that conversation or agreement. I was unaware of any commitment other until mentioned today. Were you?
It's not, it's a board's commitment.
I understand all of that.
If you're going to speak, come up to the mic, George.
You know, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. I understand all of that. I'm sorry that you didn't hear that last year. But I heard it, and I was sitting in the audience. I want to know if these two gentlemen are going to honor the commitment. If they're going to honor the commitment, then I don't think there's any question about the rotation of the chair. That's what I want to know. It's nothing personal.
It's a fair question, George, but my nomination is not based on that, nor was it aware of it.
I understand. I wonder who goes to gentlemen. I think I have a right.
So there were a lot of commitments last year. You don't want to hear this, George? There were a lot of commitments last year. There was commitments in doing the work of the county. Right? My memory is mostly of the past 3 months because that's what I've been inundated with, really. I have heard a lot of things that I don't want to talk bad about Chris. I just won't do it. I think he's a great guy. Great guy. I have always felt friendly with him, and it has nothing to do with that. You go to a meeting, a public meeting, a board meeting, and you stand up and you say, take your money and take your business and go somewhere else. Is that something that we should do as a board chair? Really? Yes. That's the way to handle things. Okay. So, what about the rest of the board? Do they matter? Okay. You guys can get up and speak as often as you want. This is important, and I want to get all of it out. Bill?
The agreement that was made, the commitment, was not only between you, but it was to the entire community. That's why we're sitting here with our mouths hanging open. How you could bypass what is the natural flow of things with the idea that it has to continue the way it has been. It may need a different viewpoint, a different direction in order to be better. Because you folks, I think you're too close to the forest to see the trees. How it looks from out here is a vote of no confidence and giving Cliff unnecessary control, unnecessary power. And when Chris declined to make to second the nomination, it was almost cowardly to not put it to a vote. I mean, it was like to stop the process because you're not willing to give up your position of control. Let's not call it power, let's call it control. Because I have seen a lot of control used in this boardroom, and I'm wondering how it's reflecting in the community, because it's not looking like a democracy. It's not looking democratic. It's looking like a power trip. That's what it's looking like. And it's really disappointing. And for the rest of you folks to sit there and think it's fine and that it needs to be done, you couldn't be wronger. It does not need to be done in this manner. We need new leadership. It's time to change, to pass the gavel, pass the torch, change ownership of this forum here. We expect the transfer of power because that's the way it's been accepted in the past. When that doesn't happen, it's for a reason. Not because somebody is not capable, it's because somebody is incapable. And that's why Mr. Spellman was not offered the leadership, because he was not representing himself in a manner that the people wanted to see. He was representing himself almost like a clown, and it was an embarrassment. Chris has never represented himself in that way, and for you to deny him leadership at this time is not only disappointing, and I'll say it again, it's an insult to the voters who have all elected you to be fair and equitable, but are not seeing fair and equitability being shared.
Just quick.
I could go on. Yes.
I was just going to comment on the not seconding my motion. It's just not you don't, if you're being nominated for chair, you got to have 3 votes.
Yes.
So if somebody nominates me and there's no second from somebody besides myself, I'm not going to have 3 votes. So there's no point in me seconding that motion and then going to a vote. And
I think she was talking about me being cowardly there, Chris.
Well, I was just explaining my thought on it.
Well, seconding a motion doesn't mean you have to vote for it.
No.
But to not take that process was just like cutting someone off at the knees, cutting the community off at the knees. We have expectations of you all, maybe unrealistic. We've got opportunities that have been squandered, and then we have things that are being shoved down our throat. I've been watching the Planning Commission. What poor representation we have on this Planning Commission. This is an insult to our entire community. They are gutting everything that, all the values that people in rural areas have for the sake of an industry that may be dangerous. And I think that's what you were referring to. Are we telling people to take their business elsewhere? Yes, we are telling people to take your damn toxins and poisons and stick them somewhere else. We didn't come here to have to breathe the same air that they're breathing in Stockton and L.A. So we do have very unrealistic expectations because we're not seeing our needs being addressed and our issues being addressed. I'm sorry, I'm going on too long. And I could go on.
Okay. I wasn't talking about them actually, Bonnie. I was talking about Councilman Cook. Go ahead.
Bill McManus, Sanford Hill. I didn't quite expect it to unfold this way today. I don't have anything against any of the supervisors. Very rarely have more than two of you ever agreed with anything the way I feel. And that seems to rotate around, with the exception, of course, of Supervisor Wright. We don't agree on anything. But your predecessor, I didn't agree with him on anything, and that was Steve Lewinsky.
I'm sure we could find something.
I doubt it, but we don't need to go there. But one thing I will say about your predecessor from District 2, Steve Lewinsky, that even though we never agreed on anything, he was one of the most respectful public servants I've ever seen. And I told him that on the day he left, that I appreciated his demeanor, I appreciated his even-handedness on the board, and that we would never agree on anything, but that I would agree that he was one of the better supervisors that we've ever had. And it's because of the way he interacts with the public. Now, if there's some sort of side agreement someplace, I don't care about that. It doesn't involve me, it doesn't involve anyone else. Right now, we have a county that's in crisis. We're looking for a way to get through it. Supervisor Wright is not going to run for re-election. So this may be a problem that continues on and on a little bit longer. I don't know. I think it's a wise choice to ask Cliff. I'm surprised Cliff took it. It can't be an easy job. But, our Supervisor Edson took the job or said, yeah, I'll do it one more time and see if we can get through this. And maybe the intensity of the job will start to diminish after another year. And then whoever's vice chair or another supervisor can step up and start learning from Supervisor Edson how to get through it so that we can wrap this thing up in the years ahead. And the Butte fire will be behind us. On a personal note, as far as demeanor, I have never been insulted by a supervisor on this board, with the exception of Supervisor Wright. And I think that his antics sometimes are insulting. I think he shows from time to time a disrespect for the public that comes before him. I know we're a pain in the rear, but that's kind of our job too. And I was insulted that I had to stop my comments to wait for the antics to end. And that's not a major criticism. It's just that it's the first time I've ever seen a supervisor do that. And so, I'm not willing to bet money I don't have. I think that the supervisors that we have here that are in the rotation, whatever you guys decide it is, are fine. And I'm hoping Cliff will get a chance to lead the county forward, and I hope Mike and Steve and whoever else is going to be on the board for a while will learn from Cliff so that you can pass the torch without having to lose that continuity of leadership. So I think it's courageous that a couple board members have recognized that. I think it's courageous and generous that Supervisor Edson has agreed to do it, and I hope that's the way it turns out. Thank you.
I've almost forgotten what I was going to say, but I'm not taking this as a personal thing. I mean, you might like the face of one person, but prefer over the face of someone else. But this is you were all elected by your district, and for as long as I have known, although I didn't realize what Bonnie had said, I don't know if that's true about Mr. Spellman. But it's generally accepted, surely, that the vice chair takes on, you have a rotation, each person has an equal opportunity to excel or otherwise on the position that they take on. And I'm surprised, is there nothing in whatever county regulations or such, Megan? You're shaking your head.
The board rules and regulations are silent on this subject, but it's been the historic practice that the vice chair is voted as chair the following or subsequent year. That's been the historic practice, but there isn't anything in writing.
And I don't think any of you are irreplaceable. And there's no guarantees that Chris is, or any of us are going to be around next week, let alone in a whole year's time.
Maybe by the end of the meeting.
This afternoon even, the way things are going. But I just think that the vice chair should take over, and no one's irreplaceable, and no one's not dispensable. I mean, I've known that through working in the career that I've taken for better or worse. Good. And the last point is that the history of the Butte, the Butte fire, we've only just started. These landslides can continue nothing might happen. It might all be good. And then one year, 3, 5, 7 years down the road, there's going to be a landslide. Are we all going to be looking for Cliff to step forward, or are we all going to be looking for our current director of public works to sort things out? He may have moved on in the same way as life goes. People come and they go, and I don't think that there should be a change in what has been going on with regard to the handing over the chair position to the vice chair. And then a couple of years, next year it'll be Steve and Michael that will be in, presumably will be chair or vice chair.
Maybe we'll do District 2 that time.
Hope we're going to do District 2 this time, but
Okay. Any other public comments? All right. So I got a question for you, Chris. So, I mean, other than it being a rotation and that's why do you want it?
Well, I mean, what I'll do, is continue to work on the things that I've been working on as supervisor. As chair, some of the priorities that we face, obviously the Butte fire recovery is, from the district standpoint, also from the county standpoint, probably the biggest thing up there. So we're going to have to be looking at, restoration as well as rebuilding. And I have a lot of history in planning. I know a lot of contacts in agencies, and I'm a really easygoing guy 95% of the time. And so I think with my background, my current work, which I'm going to be doing even if I'm not chair, will really help with that. I also, I think outside of the fire, economic development is a critical component to this. And so looking to build on the economy, but also recognizing, like my statement to Castle and Cook, they're a Fortune 500 development company, and they're coming to us, and I do admit, I probably could have been a little bit more polite to them, but he's coming to us saying that they need breaks on development fees. It's too expensive to develop here. When you look around, any other county in the region is more expensive than Calaveras County. And to me, I don't want to give handouts to multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar companies to do business here. I want them to come here and do business here, but I want them to pay their fair share. And I think economic development That's what you have to do. Otherwise, you don't have the infrastructure you need to support your community. And so it's not and so I think economic development is utilizing what we have here in Calaveras County. Another important thing is to make sure we get a good medical marijuana ordinance in place. I think that's absolutely critical to going forward. That's a real possibility of economic development. It's a lot of people that are already here and part of the community. And if we get a good ordinance in it, hopefully we can then come along and tax that and bring in more revenue for the county to help with the rebuilding. The other thing that Cliff brought up last year and that people have been talking about for a long time is the RCD. So I look forward to pushing that forward. We do have a long haul getting that actually approved by the voters, but I do 100% support that, so I'll be bringing that forward. As well as the general plan. You know, I think the general plan is languishing in the process. And what I would do if I was chair, I would push really hard to set a timetable, a specific timetable, work with Peter Maurer at the planning department and say, you know, look, we need to bring this forward now. We need to get this done now. We can't continue to have endless meetings at the planning commission level. We need to bring it forward, and we need to set a date, April 1st, May 1st, whatever that date he can do, March 1st, you know, bring the plan forward, and let's get that done. So those are some of the things that I would work on as board chair.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Yep. So one of the things that I do like is that our planning commission is taking the general plan and going through it line item by line item, because there's a lot of hidden little things in there that can harm us in the future economically. And so I condone that. I think that's a great way to do business. You just don't bring a contract. Maybe some people do. They get a contract in front of them and then they sign it without reading it. And then they live with the consequences. You can't do that because there are consequences in there. And usually it's those little things that will bite you pretty hard. Now, so I see for the first time in quite a few years the county moving forward with the general plan, and a general plan that actually makes sense. I'm not going to go to Peter Maurer and say, Peter, you got to rush it up here, because he's working as hard as he can. I guarantee you that's what he's doing. It's not just Peter, but it's also county council, it's admin, it's all kinds of other departments that go into that. And so it's just not as easy as that.
Well,
I am a pushy person. I admit that.
Yeah. So
I'm not done yet. I'll finish, and then you can go.
Okay.
So as far as economic development goes, the RCD is something that actually brought me into it. I didn't even know what an RCD was. And so I went to a meeting, and then I studied up on it, and then I brought it forward. He had the same opportunities to bring it forward I did, but he didn't. I did. And I got it through LAFCO, and now it's going forward. There are many, many things like that. You have to be on the ball all the time. During the Butte fire, first 4 days, somebody was absent, and they were moving their family to Tuolumne. I understand that. But I had constituents from District 2 calling me for answers and me for support. And McCallamy Hill was shut down with power, and they need power in Hotel Leger so that we could house some of the responders, because there's 13 rooms there. That has nothing to do with being a board chair or not being a board chair, or it has something to do with paying attention to what needs to go on. That's what needs to happen. So I just happened to be in the position where I was in the middle of it all. I remember getting a email because I told Chris everything I did. And I tried to involve Chris. And I remember getting an email from Chris. Chris says, "Thank you, you're a great man." That was his email to me. Right? That's nothing about ego or anything like that. That's just him thanking me. And yet I hear about what members say about there's an ego thing going on. It's not about ego. It's about moving our county forward in a direction where we need to go. Because we're close to disappearing economically. So there are many things that I could keep going on about. The watershed program, which I asked Chris to be a part of. Then he stopped being a part of it. But he moved it to, I think, Sierra Nevada Conservancy, right?
Can I go now?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, thank you. So with the RCD, one of the major hurdles that me and my team of folks we looked at was getting it passed. Not this board or LAFCO, but through the public. And in order to do that, it's similar like the TOT process, is you have to have a team in place to be able to run that campaign. And so you really have to, weigh, if you're going to do that or not. And it was, our determination that wasn't the realistic thing, the realistic approach at the time. And I still think that we're going to run into that problem moving forward, is getting the RCD approved by the public. It's going to require somebody, a team of people, to lead that campaign. And so, that's why, when Cliff says he pushed it through, I'm hoping that he has in his back pocket, a plan for that, and maybe. And I do say that Cliff is a great man. I think Cliff is a great man, but that doesn't mean I think he should be chair again. I don't think anybody should continue to be chair. Nobody in this room. I think it should be a one-time, one-year event, rotating each year, and that's why I would, nominate one of these guys here over Cliff if the board wanted to support Cliff again. I just think that's a mistake. As far as the watershed project, I think that's a very good concept that Cliff's been developing. I'm 100% behind that, 100%. But there's a lot going on out there that is on the ground already. And it's important that we recognize the stuff that's on the ground, the people out there, maybe not today, but most non-rainy days, crews of people through the CHIPS program that are clearing brush in our communities. So, and that's just one program. There's a lot going on out there. And so I'm involved in a lot of them on many different levels. And I'm still supportive of the watershed project that he's working on. I mean, everything he says about it, how can you argue with it? I mean, it makes sense. But, there's no reason not to embrace everybody working on reducing, especially reducing our fuel loads. We need to be completely all-encompassing on that. And as far as the actual fire, yeah, I was evacuated from my house, and in District 2. The fire got probably about half a mile from my house. There's embers in my ash-covered, all over my house. And it was a really scary moment for my family. And so I was with my family during that time. And so I'm thankful that Cliff was, as board chair, able to help there. But that doesn't mean he should be chair again, because he did a great job. It's not like this is a rotational thing, because each person, each district needs that representation, and that's the real crux of the argument here, is not how good, great Cliff is, but shouldn't it be rotating each year for that district to have that extra voice? And I feel really strongly about that. And I wish that my fellow board members would agree to that. But apparently, I don't have the vote. So, I always say in local government, if you can count to 3, you're golden. I can only count to 2. So let's call for a vote.
I've probably come to more board meetings than maybe anybody else besides board members over the years, starting back in 1978. Not on a regular basis back then, but as long as I can remember, the vice chair has always become the next chair. The only time that it's not happened is when Mr. Spellman was not selected the chair when he was the vice chair. And I believe in my heart of hearts that the purpose of the vice chair becoming the chair and the rotation around was to give every district the opportunity for their district to have their supervisor be the chair. And I don't know how many of the new supervisors really and truly understand that. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I've lived here 38 years. And I think whoever made that decision long before I was ever here as a board made the correct decision. And I'd like to see the correct decision continue to move on. And nobody's going to blame you if you remove your second and remove your first and look at it from the standpoint of the fact that every district should have the opportunity for their supervisor to be the chair. The vice chair is pretty close to every bit as knowledgeable about the Butte fire because the impact was mostly in his district. And I agree with Supervisor Ponte. And she speaks from not only 3 years of experience on the Board of Supervisors, but she speaks from 8 years as the mayor of the City of Angels. And I absolutely agree with her that people are given assignments. And if Cliff doesn't become the chair of the supervisors again, then his role can be that of somebody who's in charge of the rest of the Butte Fire operation. He has all the contacts. He knows all the players. Who's better suited than him? When Mr. Kearney started out with the Area 12 on aging, he didn't know anything. Why would I want him to switch out? Only to have somebody else who needs to learn. And you could go on and on and on. I think you're all belaboring the real point here. And the real point is that it needs to have each district have the opportunity for their supervisor to be the chair. It was set out like that. This is when Spellman was not appointed
and understandably so. That was the first time in the 38 years that I've been here that I have not seen a person who was the vice chair not elected the chair. And I'm concerned that it's going to set a precedence. And we're going to get some person that gets in there as the chair and gets in there a second or third time, and we're never going to get that person out.
I have one question and one comment, I hope. Is the RCD the Resource Conservation District? Is that what RC? Okay. Then comments made about the general plan being changed to protect us. Well, the changes could protect us and they could hurt us. And the general plan was not a slapdash contract that was just thrown together. It was years and years in the making. One thing that we really need, the public, the voters of this county really need to see is that Mintier Harnish report. We've been hearing that it's useless. Well, somebody's making that decision, and you're not relying upon the voters of this county to make their own decision. Without that information, we're taking somebody's word for it, who we may not trust. So it's very important that all the information regarding the general plan, the changes that are being made, the recommendations, that all needs to be out in the open. Otherwise, somebody's hiding something, somebody's trying to cover something up, or somebody's trying to protect somebody. We need to have that information so we can make an informed decision ourselves. That's our role, to get the information.
Okay, so are we talking about our nomination here? Or?
Well, yeah, but we were talking about the general plan and also about your appointees to the planning commission and how disappointing some of their decisions are made, have been made. But that's a big part of this whole thing. And you folks do have the authority and power, control, to allow us all of that information. We want it. We need it.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments? Any board comments?
What are you showing?
I was just providing the chair with the rules regarding the annual selection of the chair and the powers of the chair. It doesn't discuss this issue specifically, like I previously indicated. It's just been historic practice. But I just wanted to show the chair what the actual language was. If the chair would like, I can read it into the records of the public knows.
Yes, that would be better.
Rule 7, annual selection of the chair and vice chair. At the first regular meeting after January 1st of each year, the board shall nominate and elect from its membership a chair and vice chair. The chair shall call the meeting to order, and the first order of business shall be the election of officers for the ensuing calendar year. The chair and vice chair shall serve until the election of their successors. Rule 8, powers of chair and vice chair. The chair shall serve as presiding officer of the board, rule on questions of procedure, and execute official board records and documents presented by the county administrative officer and clerk. In the absence or unavailability of the chair, the vice chair shall call the meeting to order and serve as presiding officer. The vice chair shall have and exercise all powers and duties of the chair for meetings over which he or she is called to preside, and at ceremonial or official functions which the chair cannot attend. That is the function of the chair and the vice chair.
Okay. Clear. All right, so I have a motion by, who made the motion? I did. Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Oliver. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay. Done. Thank you. I'd like to, I need a nomination for vice chair.
Mr. Chairman, this time I'd like to nominate Supervisor Wright for vice chair.
Okay. Have another second on that?
I second the motion.
All right. Public comments? Board comments?
Chris, do you think you can serve in that capacity for another year?
We'll see.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. So we're going to take a 5-minute or a 10-minute break.
So again, at the first meeting of the calendar year, the board goes through the committee assignments for various supervisors. The board clerk has attached to your board packet what the 2015 committee assignments were and a blank sheet. Now, I'm not sure whether the board wants to just address any changes or whether they want to leave the assignments the same. It will be up to the board how they want to discuss this.
Okay.
I'm more than happy to just keep everything as it is and move on.
I think I'd like to discuss.
Okay.
I want to talk about one assignment here. CSAC. Supervisor Wright and I had an agreement beginning of last year that I would take the CSAC position. He would be the alternate. And our agreement for this year he would take the position of the membership there, and I would be the alternate. I just want to make sure that that's still good.
You can keep it if you want. I can be the
Are
alternate.
you sure?
Yeah. No problem.
But
I mean, unless somebody else wants it.
are you sure, Cliff?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that
That's fine.
you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, but
That was our deal.
I'm happy being the alternate.
I was at that board meeting. I'm sorry. Okay. Great. And I have one other issue with CCOG. We did have a representation issue this past couple of months. We did get that squared away, and I have some concern about all the districts being represented. It's my understanding that District 5, I take that back. District 1 would be Supervisor Edson. Yeah. Has no representation on that board. And I'd like to see that all districts be represented on that board. Comments?
We currently have one opening on COG that has not been filled. The alternate position has not been filled on COG.
Okay.
This is board assignments,
it's
not.
still there.
This is the board assignments.
But I think Debbie is stating that there's an opportunity for that position to be a District 1 person.
Right. No, that's what I'm asking, is that the regular position be a District 1.
Yeah. I could go out and solicit and find somebody to be interested in it. Okay.
So for the board assignments to the Council of Governments, is the board wanting to change that or remain the same?
No, I believe what Mr. Oliveira is referring to, and correct me if I'm wrong, he'd like to see me off COG because he feels District 4 is represented with the City of Angels 2 representatives and myself, who currently resides and represents 4, and he'd like to see a balance of districts.
Correct.
I believe that's what he's
don't you
referring
have a
to.
citizen member on that board?
The COG board did, as a COG board,
Right.
yes, appoint a citizen member who lives in District 4 and works in District 1. and commutes all over the county.
Yeah. My suggestion is that things seem to be going pretty well as far as our community assignments go. And we just had a long session. So I would suggest we just continue with what we have this year, and then come back at the next year, you'll have at least one different board member.
I do have some concern about having all districts represented. It's a very important, COG plays a very important part in this county, for the county and for the city of Angels. And Supervisor Ponce is doing a great job. It's no reflection on you. I'd like to have all the districts represented and understand that District 1 is not represented.
But you can find somebody to do that, right?
It's not really, Cliff can certainly, as any of us on this board, can ask folks to put in an application for the board, but it's up to the COG board to determine who's going to serve on their board.
Yeah.
So, while yes, Cliff can make some recommendations, it's not a given that the COG board would be supportive one way or the other.
But most of the time you get done.
Yes. The goal of the COG board is to have representation, and the way it's set up now is basically on residents. But we are taking a look at the possibilities of, not only where you live in a district, but where you work and play. Because, again, this is a regional opportunity. So, but that's another subject for the COG board to take a look at this next year.
So we're comfortable with our board assignment the way it is?
I'd like to defer that for a little bit. I need to think about that one. I'm sorry, I haven't really time to think about it. I need to think about that for a little bit.
So you mean as far as
we can come back to it later.
This meeting?
Yeah.
Is that what you're All right, well, I'll make a motion on the remainder of the board assignments that we continue.
There's one that I'd like to offer to Supervisor Kearney, because he's on the solid waste task force, but there's an RCRC component of solid waste, and it's just he's more suited than I am for it.
Is that even listed on here?
Yes.
Well, I know RCRC is.
It's the I think it's the local government finance authority.
It's probably environmental
services. Yeah.
Oh,
so
sure.
The environmental services mostly deals with solid waste and all around that. And I went to the meeting and I was thinking that Steve needed to be sitting there instead of me, because that's what he does. So.
Yeah, I'm the garbage guy.
Yeah. So
I don't have a problem.
If you'll accept that, that'd be great.
I'll make that motion with the change.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it. I second the motion.
Public comment?
Do we have to take a vote on each one of these things? Or?
No, my motion was to approve all of them with that change you suggested.
All right, I just want to look at a couple of other ones here.
And the CSAC change?
Yeah.
You do
Well, the CSAC stays the same.
Oh,
Yeah.
Right. You're sure about that?
Well, if everything else stays the same, I'm happy with that.
Okay, you go with that. I just want to. The deal's a deal to me.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thank you.
Really? A deal's a deal?
Please, believe it or not.
Just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Anything I'm out of 10.
We
All
were all in
right, so
attendance.
do I have a second on the motion?
Kearney second.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion by Supervisor Wright and a second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment?
Public comment. It's been a day, hasn't it? Public comment. None? Okay.
And then we'll come back to the CSAC one? I guess?
Yeah.
I mean, the COG.
CCOG.
When are we going to do that?
Right at the end of the meeting.
At the, when we report out right before that?
Yeah. Is that okay with you guys? I mean, I'm just making a suggestion. Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. Okay, so we have next is the adopt the recommended 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting calendars.
And again, you have the calendar for 2016 attached. The Tuesdays highlighted in yellow are the scheduled meeting dates. It's back to the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, with the fifth Tuesday of the month being an evening meeting.
Okay.
And it shows just one meeting in December, but there are 3 meetings in November.
In November?
Yeah.
That would be correct. The 8th, the 22nd, and then the third meeting of the 29th would be the night meeting.
Okay.
And we also have the opportunity to revisit it should the
Right around November.
urgencies require.
That would be correct.
I do have a question. What is our, I'm sorry, Deb, I didn't see your hand.
That's okay. I'm waiting for the chair to acknowledge me.
Well, I'm about to. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Thank you. So one of the things I wanted to know is typically we have our budget week. Do you have some idea about when you want to be doing that in June?
Typically, it's the same as the board meeting. We'll do the regular board agenda on the 14th of June with that afternoon. Usually we'll try and keep the items to a minimum, and the afternoon will be the CAO's presentation of the recommended budget with the following days.
Okay. So you
And
plan
of
to
that week
kick it off on the 14th?
to the budget hearings.
So a couple of things. I appreciate that because the week prior there were some commitments there that were going to take me out of commission. So can we yellow those two as possibilities? Because I know there's always some confusion about that and making sure everybody's on board and able to be present as potential board meetings.
We certainly can highlight the 15th, 16th, and 17th of June as ongoing budget hearings, recommended budget hearings if necessary.
Okay.
I would also then suggest that you do the same for September
Right.
14th, 15th, and 16th.
That was my idea too. And then I would suggest, looking at the calendar, I like that there's going to be 4 of the night meetings. And I was wondering if perhaps the December meeting would be better suited for the 20th, kind of more midway of when we're going to have our meetings, because we would potentially not have a January meeting until that second Tuesday in January. So I didn't know if that would make a difference or not, if there's going to be any thought to that.
If the board would prefer 2 board meetings in December, you could theoretically do it on the 13th and the 4th Tuesday, which would be the 27th. It would be coming back.
No, I wasn't thinking that. I was just thinking of one board meeting in December and it being at the 20th now, because our next meeting would be the second Tuesday in January.
And we certainly could do that, especially if we're still having to return to the board every 2 weeks for the ongoing local emergency. And we have one on the 29th. We could declare it there, and I guess you would still need one on the 13th, and then on the 20th. We can do one on both the 13th and the 20th if necessary.
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Any other folks have any comments on that?
Just one quick question for board clerk and the CAO. Our turnaround time for agenda items is still 18 days or 14?
14.
Do you see that changing in the future, or is it going to stay at that particular time?
It will stay at that time. There's always emergencies which we try to be flexible and take into consideration. But if we go back to the 2 meetings a month, we will again start trying to post the agendas on Wednesday at noontime versus later in the week. When we were doing weekly meetings, it became a bit of a challenge to try and get those out on Wednesday. But with the return to the normal schedule, we will commit to posting the agenda on Wednesdays instead of Fridays.
Thank you very much, CAO.
All right. Public comments on our scheduled for next year?
Are you meeting the second and fourth Tuesdays? We're going back to that other schedule, or is it still every week?
No, it's a second and fourth. And then night meetings. Okay. So there's some November, August, May, and March have three meetings, so they have the night meetings. Okay. Other public comments? Can I have a motion, please?
So move.
Second the motion.
I have a motion by Supervisor Calaveras, second by Supervisor Kearney. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
The next item on the agenda is the appointment of applicants to serve on various committees, commissions, advisory board, and county service areas. Basically, there's oftentimes vacancies or terms of service end at the end of a calendar year. What you have before you are listed in the board packet of the Altaville Cemetery District. There's 3 vacancies for terms ending 12/31/19. 3 incumbents have applied: Paula Berlio, Lorena Darby, and Rex Whittle. Area 12 Agency on Aging. There are 4 vacancies for terms ending 12/31/18. Again, there's for the 4 vacancies, there's 3 incumbents and 1 new member requesting appointment. They are Susan Rich, incumbent; Philip Sherwood, incumbent; Rex Weinzand, incumbent; and then Jenna Clark. Comanche Regional Park Advisory, there's 1 vacancy ending 12/31/17 with 1 applicant, Albert Alt. County Service Area 1, there are 3 vacancies to be filled ending 12/31/19. There's been 3 applicants. All 3 are incumbents. 1 is John West, the other Maria West, and Bill Booz. Commission on Aging, there's 1 vacancy in District 1 ending 12/31/18. 1 applicant is the incumbent, George Fry. Children and Families First 5 Commission, there are 2 vacancies for terms ending 12/31/18. Again, 2 applicants, both of which are incumbents, Linda Wynn and Mike Schimenti. The IHSS Advisory Board, there are 4 vacancies for terms ending 12/31/19. There were 4 applicants, 2 of which are incumbents: Kathleen Brewer, Patricia Licks, Marty Crane, who is an incumbent, and Bonnie Newman, incumbent. The Mental Health Board, 1 vacancy for term ending 12/31/18. 1 applicant, Erin Miley. The Murphy Cemetery District, there's 2 vacancies for terms ending 12/31/19. 2 applicants, both of which are incumbents, Maureen Elliott and Jeff Lewis. And Prevent Child Abuse Council, there's 1 vacancy ending 12/31/16, and that's Eilena Grissel. And 6 vacancies ending 12/31/17 with 6 applicants: Amy Hasselwander, Mark Campbell, Barbara Rose, Maggie Rawlings, Douglas Green, Heather O'Leary. And I believe that is it for now.
And if there's one change on the IHSS board, their terms are 2 years now. They sent me their resolution that changed it a couple years ago, so their terms end in 2017 instead.
Okay. Any public comments on this?
That was my correction also, but I have a question on County Service Area 1, John West and Maria West. Are they related?
Yes.
Is that allowed?
Yes.
It's not nepotism or anything like that?
Cooperation.
Well, maybe, that we wouldn't know about, but that was just my question, and thank you for the correction on the 2-year term.
All right, so can I have a motion, please?
Question before the motion. Are we voting on each individual or as a group?
We can then vote on the group. Why, do you have something that you want to carve out? We can. No?
No.
Okay. Then, just for the heck of it, then let's just go down the list and then we can do each one.
We don't have to on my behalf, Chairman.
Okay. I mean, it's up to you. I'll leave it up to you.
It's up to you. It's up to the board.
All right. So, unless if you have something in here that you would like to vote no on, then I think you should be afforded that opportunity. Okay. So if you wish to do that, I'll move it separately.
I have nobody to vote no.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. So we have a motion by Supervisor Wright, second by Supervisor Ponte. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Human Resources. Hey, Judy.
Good morning. Judy Hawkins, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. Today I'm bringing forward a resolution approving a ratified contract between Calaveras County and the Deputy Sheriff's Association, the DSA. During our initial meeting with the DSA, we asked for an 18-month extension due to the unknown financial status of the county brought on by the Butte fire. We asked them to just extend the current contract. There are a few things that they did want to negotiate, but we did not go into a full negotiation with them. With the county's negotiator, Don Turco, and the coordination with the CAO and the Board of Supervisors, we met and bargained in good faith with the DSA and came to an agreement of an 18-month extension or contract extension with no wage increases. I want to thank the DSA for their negotiating team and their members for negotiating with us and understanding the financial situation with the county. We do have a contract, and I'm looking forward to it being approved. Do you have any questions?
Questions by the board? Questions by the public? Any public comments on this? Okay, so I'll make a comment. I think thank you for your hard work. I know that was very difficult, and I just want the public to know that our new Human Resources Director here has taken great strides in building bridges and doing a very phenomenal job at what she's doing. So, and I know that I'm pretty sure that the board could agree with that, but from my personal observations, because I see a lot of the issues that you have to deal with, and I certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. I want to thank the board. You guys were awesome to work with.
Thanks. So, can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Second. So we have a motion by Supervisor Kearney, second by Supervisor Oliveira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree, you have been doing a good job.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great job. Good. New fire update. Are you going to be first, Mr. Moss?
Mr. Moss is just coming up to introduce the Butte Fire Update, and again, we have a couple representatives here to update the board on MHUs and on our general preparedness. Things are going well, as what I'm hearing today with this current event. I do know that Mr. Pokrovitz can talk a little bit more about what's actually being done right now outside to address any kind of debris flows and such. So with that said, one other comment, we had a meeting with Calaveras Recovers the other day, very, very productive. 2 board members, Supervisor Wright and Supervisor Edson, attended. I think it was very productive. to help out a little bit with outreach, especially in the District 2 area, and especially in Mountain Ranch. So with that said, that's all I have at this point. Questions?
Wait for Charlie.
Thank you.
Great.
Happy New Year, Board of Supervisors. Jason Bateser, Director of Environmental Health. Just want to give an update. The crews reconvened yesterday for the debris removal operations, evaluated sites after they were off over the holiday break. Despite the weather activity, we have 19 crews out today. Over the break, the team was reviewing analytical results, so we had an addition of 44 properties cleared now with soil samples, so that's up to 170 properties, and looking at evaluating that process to continue to make that more efficient. So despite the rain, there's still trucks out on the road today, so there's 19 teams. Weather permitting will increase back to our numbers of 32 and hope to get up to 34. So just appreciate the public's patience as we continue through the debris removal operations. I know it's taking some time, but we are moving forward and trying to work on those properties where the site allows us to, despite the heavy rains. So any questions from the board at this point in time?
Question.
Go ahead.
Can you tell me how many people are doing it themselves? I know there's a number that went through a self-certification program, but there are properties who are cleaning themselves.
We've had a total of 3 self-certify.
Okay.
One of the things that I also want to update is right before the holiday break, we sent out a mailer to approximately 140 properties that we received information on from our GIS department where there appeared or may be a structure. We received correspondence from about 50 properties, and through those, some, there was no structure on, so we're documenting that, but we've received an additional 15 so far this week, right of entry forms. So we're trying to perform the outreach while we, have teams here performing debris removal so we can adequately respond to and to make sure that people that want to sign up in the program do sign up in the program.
Okay.
So our self-certs, and I say that because some of the people that we perform outreach to may go through the self-certification program, but we're not seeing many people go through that process.
All right. Did you say 15 or 50?
50. So out of the 140 of the mailers that we sent out, we've had correspondence, whether it's phone calls, email, of about 50 of those mailers, which is pretty good considering we had the holiday break and stuff.
Sure. Possibly more to come.
And what I had correspondence, what happened in Trinity, the debris removal teams had left, and they had about 17 people sign up, and they went back out. We're trying to get everybody, that want to participate in the program to participate while we have our teams here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I still have the same issue, Jason, and I know you're going to meet tomorrow with them.
Yeah.
So my issue has been the slow retrieval of the samples from the sites. And it's not so bad, when it's raining like this, but when it's clear out and people are waiting for that sample site to be able to do something on their property, then it's kind of causes some issues. And I mean, Jason has been very gracious. I get people that contact me, and then I forward Jason answers every single time. So I appreciate that, and I know that you're meeting with them tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm going to meet with them tomorrow and look at our process. As you know, we have a new lab. I want to evaluate our time frames and make sure that when samples are mailed off, that we're looking at a 3 to 4 day time frame at the lab in reviewing, going through the analytical tests on the samples, but to make sure that when the sample results are received from the team, that they're being processed in an efficient and timely manner so we can keep that number increasing and moving forward. So I will be meeting with them and getting back to you.
Okay. Appreciate the effort there. Okay. Any questions?
I have a question, Chair. Jason, our trucking schedules, are we utilizing all of our trucks available? And are they on an 8-hour or 12-hour schedule? And I asked that question because of information that was presented to me regarding that issue.
As far as I know, we're using all the trucks available that are being presented to the debris removal operations teams. As we have, 19 crews, obviously we don't have all the needed trucks for the operations, and they have been, up until this point, from what I understand, working an 8-hour schedule, but I can verify that and get back to Supervisor Calaveras.
Okay, are we using 10-wheelers with trailers, slam bangs, or are we using end dumps?
10-wheelers. So
we're actually loading 10-wheelers out at the site and distributing down at the dump site.
Loading the 10-wheelers and going to forward landfill. As you know, that right now they're in the process of having, through the emergency ordinance and a temporary use permit, to have a transfer station installed at Toyon, which will increase the efficiency of the trucking coming in and out of the butte fire and removing debris. That is not yet complete, but once that is done, we should see efficiencies go up significantly.
Yeah, that's one of the areas that was reported to me that there seems to be a real inefficiency there, and I can understand why.
Yeah, and that's why we looked at, because we're not able to get 18-wheelers up into the burn area. So from the transfer station, we'll be able to transfer from the 10-wheelers to the 18-wheelers, and then they can proceed to forward landfill. So that is to increase the efficiencies.
Okay, what is the turnaround time for a truck, 10-wheeler, coming from recovery site to dump site?
Recovery site, I would say it's probably, there's some variables in there. It depends where it's located and stuff, but you're looking at, from up here to forward landfill, and there's been some efficiencies improved at the landfill. There was some time where the truckers, there was some time of staging at the landfill that efficiency has been improved. So, I would roughly say, 4 hours as an estimate.
You know, 2 trips a day?
Yeah, 2 trips a day.
And how many trucks do we have on site?
Last number was, I believe we were just around, just over 200.
230.
So we're making
230 and some. And it was at 182, then it was 230. So it all, and again, the trucks are dependent on number of crews in the field. So
I understand. So we have the capability of doing 400 loads a day if we have a full contingency of cleanup crews and full contingency of trucks, right?
Yes, the potential, and also depending where they're at with debris removal at the site and loading, yes.
Okay. So we're going to be looking at a satellite site for transferring in the end dumps. How will that increase our productivity? By adding more end dumps and making that 2-hour trip down to maybe 1.5 hours? Is that our theory?
Or 1 hour.
1 hour.
Yeah, so instead of going all the way to forward landfill, the 10-wheelers will be going to Toyon and then dumping there, transferring to 18-wheelers, and then going back up into the debris area.
Twice the amount.
That's what we're shooting for, is twice the amount. Yeah.
And FEMA's on board with this, so state OES.
Correct.
So it's a project, joint project. Hope we get real quick results on it, right?
Yep, and we have to have debris monitors due to the FEMA public assistance, and that's been coordinated effort. So it's not coordinated with state OES, but also for the FEMA public assistance in the reimbursement.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Any time still for when it will be completed, the transfer station?
No, I hopefully tomorrow I'll find out. So I know they've commenced work, but I don't have a time. Obviously, the rain is due to pouring a lot of concrete.
I'm surprised that they're hauling today. I got to tell you, because of the weight of the water. But
that's where they spent yesterday evaluating the sites, and believe me, they are very cautious in the safety meeting this morning and looking at only removing debris at those sites where, one, we're not going to destroy the private property, but also looking at our ingress and egress out of roads and the overall safety of transporting in and out. So the team was very methodical in how they chose the sites, and again, if there's opportunities where we can remove debris, we don't want to have a complete cessation of debris removal activity. We want to try to continue as much as possible.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, pleasantly surprised, actually, because I see the trucks were moving today.
Yes.
The more, the quicker we can get her done, that's better.
Yeah.
So, good job.
Thank you.
Oh, let me have public comments on that, okay? Sorry.
This is for Jason. He mentioned Toyon as being I didn't understand, a transfer site or a dump site. What exactly is happening at Toyon and whereabouts at Toyon? Is it by the school? Is it by the water tower? Is it by the PG&E substation?
Yeah.
And this is ashes being dumped and then, ashes? Yeah.
Well, I'll speak to, Jeff has an exact location. It is in Toyon. It's about, I think, a half mile from the school. One of the things that when we looked at the site, there's air monitoring that's occurring during construction. We did air monitoring prior to construction of the project, so we got baseline. We also coordinated with the school, which is a distance away, to set up an air monitoring station there to make sure that there's going to be, we have that constant monitoring. During all debris removal operations, there will be air monitoring stations set up around the site. And what the site is for is the removal of the ash material coming out of the burn, where it will be just dumped on a impermeable surface of the concrete, self-contained, with mitigation measures in place to eliminate any airborne ash, and then from there put into 18-wheeler trucks and transported to forward landfill. So we have site safety officers on site, we have debris monitors on site, and we have air monitors on site. The permit is temporary, only to be used during the operations of debris removal activities, and I believe that the permit for the temporary use permit expires June 1st. So either whatever comes first at that point in time. And then, Jeff, you want to speak a little bit on the exact location of that?
Jeff Grovitz, Public Works. Public Works had the opportunity to discuss this temporary transfer facility with Calaveras Waste. They're the hauler, and they're the developer and the owner of the property. We gave them what our criteria was for start. Went through a review comment process, 3 reviews, and we issued the permit, before the New Year's holiday. There is stormwater run-on, run-off controls. The processing slab is separated, and any runoff from that slab is collected and will be pumped and hauled. There's also overflow capability built into the site if we have a large event. There are limits in terms of when it can be operational. Plenty of fire suppression water in the perimeter. It's directly across the street from the PG&E substation on almost a 7-acre parcel on Devil Springs. So, good. Let me know if you see a problem. But we went ahead and analyzed for traffic. We gave an encroachment permit, grading permit, stormwater permit out of Public Works. That's in addition to the temporary use permit out of the Planning Department. Questions on that?
Question? Is a slab already there, or are we going to be building that?
They're building the slab.
Okay, so it's designed slab for our purpose then.
Well, it's designed slab for a transfer facility purpose.
All right. And the hours of operation?
Ooh,
I asked that question. Two-part question.
Two-point question. I believe that it's 7 to 7 or something like that. They can have fairly long hours of operation. There is not electricity at the site, so they will be using portable light trees, and it gives them the ability to process into the evening. We didn't anticipate that to be a noise issue because we don't have residents nearby. And so when the work operations and the hauling operations out of the burn area cease after dark, they may very well be continuing to haul and continuing to load their vehicles and then running them out in the morning.
Okay, so we will have the capability of stockpiling on the transfer station if we have to?
The slab site, I believe, is just over 8,000 square feet, so it will handle quite a bit. And I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of trucks coming in and a lot of trucks coming out. And there are paved roads going in, going out on the site so that we don't have track on, track off issues with stormwater in terms of soil and sediment. So
And
it's
we
kind of
made
close.
arrangements for traffic control getting on the 26 from that feeder road.
That's a controlled intersection, stop sign controlled intersection from that direction. I imagine that trucks are going to be coming in one way, going out the other way.
There's good visibility there.
Yeah. All areas in terms of the flow path seemed like we had pretty good visibility.
How many do you determine to be using that transfer facility? And dumps and slam bags?
I'm assuming this is going to change the operation within the burn area significantly because instead of having an approximate 2 to 2.5 hour turnaround time from the time they leave the burn area to the time they get back to the burn area, it's going to be, in all likelihood, less than an hour turnaround. And so the 200 to 300 bobtails that we have running within the burn area, they're going to be cycling all the time. And then the large transfer vehicles that are going to be going up and down 26 to forward, they will be running, I'm assuming, all hours of the day and longer hours than the construction hours of the debris removal. So it will be busy.
But they have hours of operation for forward, too.
Yes.
You know, there's only a certain amount of hours in a day that they'll be able to operate anyhow. But the cool thing about this is that it's going to speed up the recovery or the recovery process for the county residents up in that area tremendously.
It will also drive the cost down because transportation is a driving cost. I mean, I don't care.
It'll reduce your traffic, your truck traffic on 26 quite a bit, too.
Yes, but it will increase the traffic within the burn area. So, but we're trying to get that. We're trying to get the debris out.
So, dual question. We're dependent on how fast our cleanup crews can operate now once we get to the transfer station, correct? Do we have any procedures for increasing those crews if we find this to be a very efficient way to do things?
You know, many of the sites have site constraints as far as, you know, how many excavators we can have on the site to remove debris and access in and out. So as we have more trucks available in the past where we might have had some crews waiting for debris removal trucks to take the debris to Ford landfill, now we hopefully won't have that lag time where they're waiting for another truck. So that's going to be the increased efficiency right there. As far as our teams, we'll have the same, you know, as the number of excavators on site, team members on site, that'll be the same. What this is going to do is increase the efficiency so we don't have that downtime waiting for additional trucks to load up. And then weather permitting, and as we get to these sites, we can increase and have additional teams at that point in time.
That was the root of my question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, that right now, I mean, it's really weather permitting, you know, and also we have to look at, you know, and as we looked at, you know, one of our constraints compared to the Valley Fire is ingress and egress out of the fire area, and so, you know, we can, you know, see a max of probably 34, 35 teams at any point in time. If we feel we can increase the teams and still be safe, and looking at public safety, roadways, obviously that's number one. We'll do that, but it's, you know, it's that balancing act.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good job.
You mentioned that times of operation are from 7 to 7, and
I don't know that for certain. I'll have to get back. We'll get it on the website.
The issue I'm going to make is, you said that there's no residents that will be impacted, but to let you all know, all the people living down Double Springs, we can hear what's happening up at the school, we can hear what's happening at the substation, so there is a noise factor. So if you're talking about middle of the night and having lights, you know, we're hoping you're not going to be driving trucks in and out in off hours when it might disturb the people that, you know, they're a half a mile down the road, but we're downhills, and noise travels real easy down the hill. So I'll be listening, too.
If you have issues, Ms. Newman, please call Public Works. We can always direct truck traffic out to 26 and avoid double springs.
And I just, the exact hours, I know we won't be working late into the evening. One, it's a staffing issue because we have to have debris monitors and air monitoring at the site. Two, the landfill is not, I think the landfill closes at 6 o'clock, so we're constrained to those hours. And also in respecting the neighbors, we don't want to, impede on their quality of life. But we do appreciate the patience as this will increase our efficiency. So we can get to the exact hours, but it's not going to be a 24-hour operation.
You might let the neighbors on those things know that there's going to be stuff going on up there. There's only about 10 of us, so it wouldn't be hard to notify.
We can. I'll work with Peter in the planning department to put out some sort of notification.
Okay, continuing on.
There's another public comment.
I was wondering about the Supervisor Wright. Chris had said had once asked whether or not there could be a map put out on the website as to where the locations were that were being worked on. The reason I ask is that I'd like to know from myself, I'm in no great hurry, but I would like to be there, at least on and off, not during the whole course of things. And I have the need to return to England at some point. So if they were to, if Jason could tell me it would be March before he could get there, that would be fine with me. At least I'd be able to make some sort of arrangements. The other thing was that I had my good friends had their lot cleared some time ago, and just after, it was after Christmas, I met with them, and they hadn't received a certification. So we were wondering if it is a claim five-day turnaround, and this site was tested about a month ago. There's obviously a disconnect there. So.
The county PIO will be, to answer the map question, will be coming over to our office. We do have a map now in our front office. It just shows the parcels that have signed into the right of entry program or signed a right of entry form. Those that properties have been cleaned, and we're trying to update it weekly. And then a kind of a general zones of where debris removal activity is taking place. And so Sharon's going to come over and get a PDF of that and put that out on the website. As far as the sampling, let me know the specific address. Over the time frame, it's greater than 5 days because it has to be shipped to the laboratory, as I mentioned before, analyzed, shipped back, and then reviewed by the team. So it's anywhere from 10 to 14 days, and that's something I'm meeting with the team on tomorrow to look at if there's any ways for increased efficiencies. If the samples were taken 30 days ago, by all means, and if somebody hasn't heard of the results, either contact the Debris Removal Operations Center directly, who they've been in contact with, or contact me, and as Cliff has or other people have, contact our office, and we'll find out what the holdup is. Okay?
With regard to the month or a big estimate, an estimation as to when we might be getting
we can try to do that, and I hate to take that on for each individual parcel because it's so weather dependent right now and when we're going to be there. But looking at, I can give generalities, and we can try to give some generalities, and maybe after my meeting with the team tomorrow as we get out, try to have some long-term projections. But it is just difficult as sometimes we run onto a property. For instance, not too long ago, we took 50 truckloads of debris out of that property. Wow. That was not a 3-day cleanup. That was a 7-day cleanup. So I said it. So it's hard. I can give some generalities. I caution people that it's difficult at times because as we run into these different things, I don't want to call them obstacles. It's just variables throughout the process. But now that we're back and projected out, we can maybe sit down and try to give some sort of estimate for you, especially if you're going to be traveling.
But there's also weather, and then we just had the holidays, which they were closed down through the holidays. So I'm imagining your friends had their lot cleaned just before Christmas because they were closed during Christmas. So it was probably.
It was as I recall, and this is Peregrine Road. It was at least 4 weeks before the day after Christmas.
Oh, really? Okay.
And
so that would be great if you can get give Jason the address, if you have the address, and then he can because he's going to meet with them tomorrow and he can check on that.
Yeah, by all means. And sometimes what happens too, they perform the soil sampling and whether not enough soil was removed or depending on what was on the property, there's a high concentration of metals. It happens and the test results come back high, then they have to go back out to the property, re-excavate, and then perform additional soil sampling at that point in time, and that causes delays in the process. And we're trying to continue to look at improving those operations and excavations so we don't have those high hits. But it all depends on what was there, and age of the home and stuff. So, but give me the address and I'll look into it for you.
Just wanted to thank Jason for that. I know it's a difficult task, and I thought I'd heard 5 days turnaround, but having worked in an analytical facility similar, not quite what Jason is dealing with, 5-day turnaround is pretty fast. So thank you, Jason, and thank you for your responses.
One quick question, Chair. The information on individual lots or locations, is that public record a year or two down the road as far as lot cleaning and procedures? Is there any confidentiality to the property owner, or is that all public record?
We'll have, this is something I'll have to work with council with. At the end of the process, we're going to have all the records of debris removal that occurred on the properties as far as the amount of debris removed, manifest, et cetera. The operations team has that in their office now. When this is done, we will have those records. The county will retain those records as far as, the analytical results, debris removed, et cetera. So with that being said, I'll have to talk to council's office, but I would assume that if during a real estate transaction and people wanted to know if there was, what was the actions taken on the property, just like they would look at our septic system or well records, those that would be, as long as there's no statutory requirement or confidentiality of information, that would be public record.
So looking in the future.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too is we looked at, having kind of going back here, but the county state program and also the self-certification program that we had somewhat the same process and requirements. So we look back, we didn't have two different standards when there was real estate transactions or other type of inquiries from the public, having the same standards for the cleanup process.
One quick question. You mentioned you took 50 dump truckloads of debris off one lot?
Mm-hmm.
Was that all a result of the fire?
That was all from the result of the fire. The only debris that we are removing is fire-related debris. That's on the right of entry form. We have encountered some historical dump sites below ground that's not fire-related, that we're not removing that debris. So we are removing only fire-related debris. Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Back to Public Works?
I think so.
Okay, great. So since we last got together, we've had a number of rain events, a number of snow events in the county. Rain events, within the burn area necessitated the closure of Harbor Road for about a 5-day period until we could remove deposited debris off of the low water crossing and allow it to be opened back again for public travel. I anticipate with every rain event above just light rain, we will have the same situation at this location.
Where's our bridge?
Where's our bridge? You don't really want to talk about that right now, do you?
Sure.
I can give you an update on the Harbor Road Bridge on the HPP program, but I think that this is probably not the best time. I will bring it back very shortly, all right? Okay. And I will call you. In terms of staffing for this particular event, we are under a winter storm watch. There is a high probability that before 10 o'clock tonight, we will have rain flows that will cause debris flows and flooding and blockages and closures of roads. We already have evidence this morning of several locations on Jesus Maria, Whiskey Slide, Mountain Ranch Road, Railroad Flat, that have minor slides on them that we are cleaning up. We have 2 crews that are in and about the fire area that are teaming so that if we do have a closure, we can deploy our K-rails and shut the roads down, or if we can reopen them quickly, we will, or if we have culverts that are being plugged, we can reopen them and keep the roads open. So far, I think we've been pretty successful. The snow event that we had over the holidays was very cold. It was the first major storm event, snowfall event that we've had in this county, I think, for 4 years. And so there was a lot of joy and visitors coming in from outside of the county to play in the snow, which created a whole set of problems for us. And it generally occurs on the first major snowstorm of a season, but especially when there's been a pent-up desire to bring your families up to the snow when we've got the first snow in 4 years. So that's good. We got most of our sand problems, our ice problems resolved, and we're moving ahead with that. Public Works will be deploying information pamphlets both on county websites, public information websites to realtors in the area so that we can make sure that the expectations of our citizens meet the program requirements, policies, and procedures. Continuing to work with FEMA and Cal OES on the public assistance program, sent them documentation on how we plan on doing the hazard tree removal. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 5,000 trees still need to come out alongside public right-of-way. And we are awaiting our project worksheets for the rest of the repairs. We're also scheduling with Caltrans field reviews with FHWA for the emergency repair program on the federal aid roads within the burn area. Let's see, FMAG, I'm hoping to have the FMAG in front of you for approval so we can deploy that program within the Moke Basin. And the HMGP program will take a little bit longer. There are other issues that we need to resolve, and we will be talking about that shortly. I think had some retirements.
Did you get any help on the FMAG or on the matching part of that from East Bay Mud?
I've got a match on FMAG, and this is kind of stealing thunder. I've got a match from East Bay Mud on the FMAG program, the $441,000 grant, but I'm still searching for the larger grant matching funds. So I believe at this point in time, the FMAG grant with its match is whole, and we're ready to deploy. So we'll bring it to the board for approval and deployment.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Questions from the board?
I have one. I heard of, and this is probably going to be on a lot of properties, where a private landowner owns a significant piece of property, like 50, 60 acres or something, and the timber burned almost to the stick, and it's all being it's in the plan to be removed, and they've heard from the forester, and to replant their property is 18,000 trees. Do we have we any kind of access or resources or developed a partnership maybe with prison labor or to help a private landowner get these trees into the ground? Seems like a daunting task for them.
It's not a horrible task, the planting of the trees. I've done it. Getting the trees is a little bit more problematic. So I've got some Arbor Days scheduled, sponsored by PG&E, to provide trees to plant for the community. These are not overly expensive to get, but the problem is the stock that was grown for planting this year was grown last year, And so the likelihood of us having a significant stock of trees to plant before the fall season prior to next winter, which is our next planting period, will be somewhat limited because we're competing against other fires as well as Butte, as well as the rim. So yes, we are working on Arbor Days to do that. And yes, there are a lot of trucks and a lot of logging truck companies that are doing the salvage removal under the emergency timber harvest plans. I see them every day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay. Any other board comments?
You know, Supervisor Kearney, along those lines, over in Tuolumne County with the rim fire, the U.S. Forest Service is taking kind of a creative program and having different organizations and families and individuals and that sort of thing helping to plant trees within the rim fire. So perhaps at some point that might be a program to help facilitate to the private folks too. So something to think about in the future.
Yeah, it could be something that we can add it to it. They're kind of full inundated right now, but the Calaveras Recovers group may have some opportunity for that.
And remember that there is an order to the recovery, and we really need to stabilize the soils before we start moving into the reforestation. And we certainly don't want to be attempting to reforest before a logging activity. Makes sense. Any other questions?
No, just thanks.
Any public questions or comments for Director Provitz? Okay. All right. Thank you. Charlie.
Good afternoon. Charlie Simpson, Calaveras. I was asked to give a report on the MHU status from FEMA. So this is their report as of 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Use their terminology. Licensed in means that they have signed over the MHU to the people who are going to occupy it. So anywhere where you see licensed in, just equate that to be occupied. It's not a lease. They don't go through that lease process, but it is a licensing process to allow those people to use those. So for the private sites, we have 8 are already occupied, 1 being installed, I believe, today. There's 10 pending, and the reasons for the pending action there are spelled out. As far as the commercial sites, they have the San Andreas Mobile Home Park and Bighorn Mobile Home Park are either already occupied or are assigned and will be assigned or will be occupied in the next few days. Foothill Terraces has a contract for 20 pads. There are currently 11 on site, and I was told the 12th may be coming in today. That leaves a number of 8 pads available that do not have any occupants assigned to them. And as I spoke to you at the last meeting, if you know of people who qualify and who are willing to move into a commercial site, there's 8 places that can be put in a matter of days. So other than that, any questions?
No, thanks for your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Bighorn Mobile Park, where is that located?
Angels Camp.
Angels Camp, yes.
Angels Camp?
Right, yes.
Is that the one that you right next to the store?
Behind the liquor store.
Back in.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Thanks. All right. So that wraps it up for the update on Butte Fire recovery. And we're going to take a lunch break until 1:20. Okay.
Do you have consent and report out if you want to do it?
Consent and report, you guys want to do that?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Then you got to pull the consent agenda?
I can live with that.
I need a little break, though.
Take a 10-minute break. 10-minute break.
All right, so we can have a 10-minute break. Forget about lunch. Are we ready? Okay. All right. So go to the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They will be acted upon by the board at one time without discussion. Any board member, staff member, or interested party may request removal of an item from the consent agenda for later discussion. Is there any members of the public that would wish to pull one of the consent agenda items? Well, I'd like to pull 14. I want to talk about it. Okay. Okay. Any members of the board like to pull an agenda item?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the remainder of the consent agenda.
Okay. Second. Got a motion by Supervisor Wright to pull the remainder of the consent agenda item. Consent agenda and second by Supervisor Oliveira. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So I pulled number 14. Back, Jeff, you don't need to come back. This is a small portion of Lewis Avenue, which is a one-way street where just off of where the FEMA trailers are going. And right now, the one-way street goes past the elementary school. Just past the elementary school is an area which can be widened to make it a two-way street, which would mean that people can go into that subdivision where the FEMA trailers are without going past the elementary school, which we think is really important because if you can reduce traffic in front of the school, that's the best thing to do, right? So I just wanted to pull it so that we can explain it to the public so the public knows, because a lot of folks, I've been getting a few calls and messages from people that live in the area wondering, what's going to go on with that. And so I just wanted people to know what's going on with that. And I'll bet you it's not even 50 yards of an area that's going to be changed. And it was slated to be changed anyhow. But since we have this group of trailers moving in there, we decided to get it done a little quicker. So I want to thank Public Works for doing that. Okay. Any public comments on that? Board comments? A motion, please.
Move to approve.
All right. Got a motion by Supervisor Kearney.
Second.
Second by Supervisor Oliveira. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And a reminder to the board that we need to go back to address the item of the CCOG representatives.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have time to think about that?
Yes, sir.
We did.
So Debbie's on as a board member on COG. These how many people are on that board? 7, right? 7. So it's been an issue, and I've made it public that even when I was on COG 2 years ago, or for a couple of years, I felt that we weren't getting good representation on this end of the county, in District 1 or 5, far as projects go. And some of that was because of the what they call shovel-ready projects. But the shovel-ready projects seemed like there was plenty of them everywhere else, but not where we are. And so I think it's probably why this issue is coming up, and or one of the reasons. It's an imbalance of the representation within the District 4, I guess it is, District 4, or the perceived imbalance. So that's probably why it was brought up. Is that what you guys are thinking?
That's what I've been informed.
Okay. So I actually think that Debbie's doing a good job on there, and I think that we're going to be okay with that. What do you think, Debbie?
As board chair, you can make a recommendation one way or the other. I enjoy the work of COG. I enjoy being a part of the process of transportation, of looking at transportation for all of Calaveras County. But I also see COG as a regional opportunity in regards to our transportation needs and our transit. So I would continue to serve if that's what the chair would like me to do. But I'm also open to whatever you might want to do. I would just go to say that if we're going to start talking about representation of districts throughout the county, we're going to start looking at representation throughout the county on each and every committee and commission and JPA we have. So it's just not about COG, if that's the way this board feels.
Is that like a threat?
No.
It kind of sounded like one.
No, it's not a threat.
Oh, because you bring that up every single time anyhow. So.
Because it keeps being brought up at COG, and it's been historical. And again, COG isn't about just a regional or specific part of the county. It's a regional approach to it.
Yes.
So.
So, as when I first came into this office, I'm looking at the transportation deficiencies throughout the county, and I see where the need is, in my opinion, anyhow. So that's how I thought of it when I was on COG. I was frustrated when I was on COG, and that's why I left, actually. Largely because I felt that I was outvoted, no matter what. And if you take a look at all the money that was spent in the county through COG over the past 30 years, find out where the money went. And to me, we have a lot of projects throughout the county that need attention, and that's been the contention. So you could say that they work for the whole county regionally all you want, but if you show me the money and where it went, then you will see a different story. And that's my
I'm not going to debate that, and I'm not going to go on here. I'm just sorry if that's why you left COG, to not be frustration and not be a part of a solution to represent that area of the county and to move, in that kind of direction. I'm sorry for that. That's not why I thought you left COG. I will say it's a 7-member board, and I think the board tries very hard to get representation from all areas of the county. And it's just not where you live, it's where you work and play. So, but it's your choice. It's your choice. I mean, apparently it seems to be a concern, so.
Well, that's my concern. It is actually a concern. I mean, if it keeps being brought up, then there's an issue. If it doesn't keep being brought up, then there's no issue. So I just like to see it straightened out.
Yeah, it is transportation planning and then transportation infrastructure expenses. It's insanely expensive and it's complex. It's not just Calaveras County; it's the entire state. And so there's no easy answer. We couldn't just say, I don't think I think it's more of a perception than a reality because the projects that have been built, they've gone through rigorous public scrutiny and planning. And so it's understandable that Cliff wants projects done in his part of the Valley Springs area especially, but San Andreas too. There's needs all across the county, but it does seem like there's COG has a pretty good, has an excellent executive director and a good board. So I'm happy with Deb, being our board rep. That's for sure. So I appreciate that effort there.
Well, Supervisor Kearney is also on the board.
Right, but we were specifically talking about Debbie. Steve, you're doing a great job too.
Thank you. You're welcome. I still would like to see more representation on all districts. And I think District 5, District 1, I'm sorry, has not been sufficiently represented to the extent the statements made by Supervisor Edson. I know that there is a great concern in my district about not being represented on the COG board.
Okay, explain that, because Cliff served up until a year ago on COG. And so, are you talking like the last couple of years, or are you talking the last 8 years?
I'm talking about this last year, maybe the year before. I'd like to see the projects. I've asked for this information, but have yet to receive it. The projects in District 4 compared to all the other districts.
Well, have you met with Melissa?
Yeah.
I've attended. I'm sorry, what?
Melissa Eads, she's
I've contacted Melissa Eads, and I've requested that information both by email, and unfortunately, there was a glitch in the system when we had the holidays come up. This was prior to the holidays, and I'm not blaming Melissa. I'm just saying that I request the information even before even addressing the situation, which was brought to my attention by my constituents.
Yeah, but not all the time are your constituents correct.
I understand that.
That's the thing. Is
That's why I request the information.
Say something doesn't mean.
Rim Trail was
I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
You're wrong. I've been down that path. I've got the T-shirt and the video too.
Oh, okay.
But the bottom line is, I need to have that information to make sure that we have that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we haven't been able to obtain it yet. I'm not saying it's Melissa's fault.
And
the bottom line is, we're in a position to make a decision.
And you could also talk to either one of these guys here that are your board rep and bring one of them in to help you get that information too.
I just talked to this gentleman, just heard what he said. Steve, what do you think?
Well, I understand where everybody's coming from, and yes, Debbie does do a good job as, on the COG board, but the perception is probably exactly what Cliff is saying. There's when you have the city council with 2 members and a citizen member from Copperopolis and the supervisor, it's like any other perception. They are going to think that more gets done there. Does that happen? I've only been on it 1 year, and I'm going to tell you it's a very technical assignment, and I put effort into understanding it. I have advanced very far from where I was a year ago. I can understand how Cliff is feeling about this, and I'm willing to go with the way the board wants to go. I do take a note of a comment that says we need to look at all of the committee assignments and make sure that we're represented in the county. I completely agree with that, and I've been looking at that at everything that I have done. And if there is something where we're not bringing everybody in, I hope that it's pointed out so that we can work to change that, because I'm all for that. I don't understand the concept that it's regional, because there are things that people see in their areas that I don't see. I honestly don't go up to District 4 very often, or District 3. I have more connections in 2 and 1, but I rely on the people that are from that area. I'll go with the attitude of the board towards it. I do understand that there needs to be representation from every part of the county. District 5 is represented by me. That's kind of wishy-washy answer, I think. But,
yeah, that's pretty wishy-washy.
Well, no, I'm saying I understand the perception, and really it kind of has to go back to Cliff. Does he feel like his district's being slighted? Because I have dug my heels in, and something that I didn't think was going to be that big of a deal, but it ended up being a multi-meeting discussion over the COG representation. And in the end, we straightened it out, but my point then was to bring people from all areas of the county involved in it.
We have that issue on LAFCO right now. We have an opening on LAFCO because that board can't decide about representation.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that true? LAFCO representatives?
What is she talking about?
There's an opening on the LAFCO board, and that decision can't be made by that board because of representation and what area of representation you want on that board.
That's not the reason. It's not the reason.
Oh, okay. Then I'm mistaken.
Well, it's okay, well, I mean, we shouldn't even talk about that because it's not here, so off topic. But I know the reason for that. Yeah, that's a whole different situation.
Well, I guess it's perception then.
Are you right with Debbie continuing? You said you worked for her and still okay with that?
Yeah, I'm going to be okay with that.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to that effect, unless, well, I can make the motion and then we can have one talk.
But I would like to go through all of the other committees that we have to make sure that that are required to have representation in each of the districts, and take up that.
Is that something that you're asking staff to bring back? Because as far as today, the board has already taken action on it, unless the intention is to reconsider, but clearly there isn't the same people that were here earlier, so if any reconsideration of that vote would have to come back at a subsequent meeting.
We can come back, we can discuss it.
Well, we have other openings with other committees coming forward, right? I mean, it's just what we did today was fulfilling the obligations of what we needed to do, but we have a number of other committees and commissions and such that have openings still.
That's correct. Those were just the ones that we had the applicants for and were able to fill at this meeting.
Yeah, because I do want to mention that, like the Parks and Rec Commission, you have to reapply.
Library Commission, Fish and Game.
Got to get people who even want to get on it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I made that motion that we appoint Debbie and Steve to COG for this next year.
Well, second that.
Okay, great.
Okay, so the motion is for Steve or for Debbie to be on COG for next year.
Along with Steve.
And Steve.
Yeah, Debbie and Steve.
And Mike as the alternate.
Mike is the alternate.
I didn't make that motion, but I'll include that in my motion.
And so all in favor?
Public comment?
First.
Public comments, please. Sorry, Lenny.
Bill McManus, Hanford Hill. We keep chasing this COG thing around, and just the way it's structured makes it kind of unruly, where a place like Angels Camp has 2 representatives. They don't have that many people as opposed to other districts in the county. Now, I'm sure it's probably the way it was founded, but that's what it took to get them to participate in it. But what if you could drop someone out from the Angels Camp position, give them 1 position on COG, then that allows you that position to reach out to another district, because by the time you get Copper, Angels, and District 4, you've got a majority there. And yeah, there's a perception that it's not fair. And over the years, COG has not had, I hate to say, a real stellar reputation. Even the supervisor from my district some time ago was terribly abusive in her COG membership, and it didn't do well for COG. So if there's some way that we don't have to argue about, the numbers don't work out, but we argue over district-wide representation. Angels is represented with 1 person, and the other districts, should be represented as much as possible. But the way it's set up, numbers just don't work out. It's really tough to get 5 districts represented plus 2 from Angels. Well, that's it. We haven't even talked about the supervisors yet. So, I don't know if that's part of the charter of COG or whatever, what has to be changed.
There are rules where the electeds, I'm sorry, Cliff, excuse me.
Sorry, you go.
There are rules that the electeds have certain responsibilities that the citizen appointees don't in the charter. And I'm not prepared to tell you verbatim what they are, but it's not as easy as just saying one from Angels Camp is deleted and one from the board is deleted. They have responsibilities that have to do with, say, personnel or things of that matter.
Yeah. All I'm saying is that the COG is distributing taxpayer money.
Point taken.
And that, you'd like to think that you're being represented in some measure for those monies being spent, because it came from all of us to go into the pot. And that's not happening, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of oversight there.
It's a concern of mine also, Bill.
Okay.
It's a good
Thank
point
you.
taken.
I've only served on 1 commission or committee or advisory board, and the biggest issue was finding somebody willing to step up, and that seems to be the biggest problem. And people want representation, but they're not willing to step up. They're not willing to recruit someone to step up. So I know in our committee, we're glad to have anyone step up just so we can continue to conduct business and have a quorum and do what we're supposed to do. So I wouldn't care if everyone from West Point wanted to be on our committee. I mean, because we need people, and the people are the biggest value. The biggest value that we have is the people willing to step up. And so I listened to Cliff said he withdrew because he was outvoted, but that's when you dig your heels in and you fight. That's why I'm here. I'm one person fighting all of you guys, in a sense. And if you don't have people that are willing to take on the challenge, because it's a challenge, and it's a sacrifice to sit on these commissions and boards. I won't talk about this other thing that's going to come up at some point, but when we have people willing to step up, we know that there's a commitment. And when we got to, trick people, coerce them into participation, their heart's not going to be in it. We're not going to get the same results as we have when we have people that are, really committed and really involved and willing to do the homework and willing to do research and willing to do outreach. That's the value, and wherever they come from, I'm from a little place over there that used to be District 5, now I'm District 1. We're all disenfranchised from the system in some way or another, but I am a part of Calaveras County, and I may not have participated totally in the Butte Fire, but my heart was there, and I felt that this happened to me too. I only had ashes on my house. But I realized it could be me, and so I put myself in everybody's position, everybody's shoes. And, I don't know how good a job any of you all do on your commissions, but if you're willing to step up and allow the public to watch and see, then I think we're glad to have you. And if you can find somebody to replace you that's going to be better than you, we want that person too. But it's just so hard to get people to volunteer. And that's what I see all these commissions as, being people that are willing to give up their time and sacrifice time with their family, maybe time at work, in order to participate. So that's just my feeling. And I'm glad to see anybody, all of you, stepping up on any level. So thank you.
Earlier on, you were saying just how, in what bad shape the county was. And I would just like to see that, as opposed to there being some sort of argument as to whether District 1 had or hadn't, a certain district wasn't represented, that you pulled together for the overall financial health and quality of life in the county. Thank you.
Jack? Any other public comments? Well, there's actually, she's public still. So let me give you an example. Sorry. I drive through Angels Camp. There's 13 crosswalks in Angels Camp, right? I try to get one crosswalk in San Andreas. Can't do it. Always an excuse why. Can't do it. We are the county seat. We have a bunch of people running around here trying to cross this highway. There's always, at nighttime, people crossing that highway, and people come through here fast. There's nothing visually here to slow them down. So we got people in the 30-mile-an-hour zone doing 50 miles an hour while people are trying to cross the highway in San Andreas to go to the store. I see it all the time. I've been after a resolution for that. Can't ever happen. So then I see projects that are shovel ready in Angels Camp, sidewalks and crosswalks. I'm asking for one crosswalk. I see people down there repainting crosswalks down in Angels Camp all the time. And I have people in danger in my town right here, and we can't even get one crosswalk. We have a total of 3 in all of San Andreas. And it's a concern to me. And it's a concern to me that nobody's listening to that.
But, I mean, as you know, crosswalks are a tricky business. You can't just go put a crosswalk out wherever you think it's a good spot. There's a lot of traffic planning and engineering that has to go into it. Because otherwise, sometimes you make a crosswalk, you're actually going to be creating, you're going to put pedestrians in danger, more so than not. So really, it does take, there's some, a lot of thought that goes into it.
Yeah, so the studies get funded by COG. And then the studies, once they're funded, then go into another process that, by COG, that can get funded to get it done.
So, I can understand all this. Really, it's about my appointment to the COG board or not. We can discuss projects until we're blue in the face, and I can go on and on and on and tell you the top 3 projects in Calaveras County. We have one in San Andreas on that ticket. So, again, we can debate these projects, and I totally understand your frustration. I totally understand what you'd like to see for San Andreas, and, it's just constantly beating that horn or tooting that horn and beating that drum to get what we need done. But bottom line right now, it's about my appointment to the COG board. So, I mean, we can go on and on about projects and the length, and I can tell you 25 years ago when I was on the City of Angels and trying to get a sidewalk. I mean, it's a fruitless conversation right now. It's about the appointment to COG. And then these other issues, we can work through them in this next year or two, whatever they might be in regards to representation along Highway 4 or not, or District 1, or projects, or whatever it might be. We're not going to solve those things today.
I got that motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Go ahead and vote. Mr. Chair.
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for that now.
Is that a call for a vote?
Yeah, I'm not going to vote for that now. So I'll call for a vote.
Yes.
Aye.
No.
No.
Steve?
No.
All right, can I have another motion, please?
I'll move that we place Supervisor Edson on the COG board as a member of Calaveras County.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That's bullshit. That's total bullshit. Fuck that.
Supervisor announcements?
I have a CSA 1 meeting tonight. There isn't a COG meeting this week. Thursday, there is a Valley Springs Boosters meeting, which puts on the civic event, the fireworks over at Ogun. I'll keep my office hours on Thursday. And Friday, I'm going to attend the Commission on Aging meeting. The Solid Waste Task Force has not been meeting for a while now because of the Butte fire. But it will meet again on the 19th at the time of 4:30, and it's meeting at the Town Hall.
Okay.
I've been quite engaged with our snow problems we've had up in District 3. In the Arnold area, the Dorrington area and above, working quite close with Public Works and with our maintenance yard and our snow removal folks up there. Director Kravitz was absolutely correct when he said that we had not only snow problems but ice problems that resulted in a lot of vehicle accidents, a lot of spin-outs. You add the increased population into our county for the snow, which I really enjoyed. The folks up there really enjoyed our visitors. Drove us to have a meeting that was held here in the San Andreas Administration Building with our CAO attendants, Public Works, two supervisors, to discuss the problems that we, number one, recognized and discuss the things that we did right. Out of that meeting, we came up with one of the major quick resolutions to a problem was our communication to the public. I understand that that communication is going to be coming out, and these are things we did in the past. I mean, we're talking probably 3 or 4 years ago, where we were able to communicate through pamphlets, communicate through merchants, things of that sort. We're bringing that back to, number one, educate the public, and then tell them it's not real easy driving up here in conditions. It's snowing, and we can't get the resources we need to get that snow off the road the minute it gets to be 2 inches or more. So we have to have an understanding between our visitors and our own county resources. I think we've reached a point where we're talking, and we're talking wisely. I did get a lot of cooperation from our Public Works Division, but we have to also realize that I don't know if our budgets are in place for the resources we need for what we have coming in the near future. I'm working with that with Jeff Kravitz, Scott Anderson. I am appreciative of the fact and the efforts put forth by that committee. I intend to see what's our next storm event's going to have for us, and that's going to be this week. I do know that the commitment through the communications from Scott Anderson and through Jeff, that they're putting all their resources they possibly can in advance of that storm to make sure we don't have a problem like we experienced over the Christmas holidays. So I'm very engaged in that, and I appreciate the cooperation by all parties in that venture. Will be attending some meetings. We did have a scheduled meeting for the Governor's Task Force on Dead Trees and the Bark Beetle Project. We had a helicopter tour scheduled for tomorrow in Northern California to see the devastation of our dead tree problem. Unfortunately, that was canceled due to the weather. We will be meeting next Monday in Sacramento as a committee to address those issues and see where we're going with that. I am meeting on the 7th on Thursday with the Highway or Water Commission, committee. We do have some information with that. Hopefully it'd be forthcoming. I understand that Dennis Mills was here and had some interesting information out of Sacramento about legislature and what's happening in our water world. I think I have something on the 8th, and that's going to be the Calaveras Committee of Aging. I think we have that meeting. We will be attending that meeting and representing the county as a representative on the board.
Okay. Good.
Let's see, we do not have a COG meeting in January per our JPA, so our next meeting will be in February. I attended the Child Support Agency meeting in December, and basically it was a review time of the agency. We'll be having kind of an annual report, you might say, that I'll bring back to the board in February of the work that goes on in that agency and where they stand in their work. I attended an IHSS meeting. Thankfully, we have two new members and 2 members returning, so we'll have a full board meeting in January. And I, too, will be attending the Highway 4 Water Committee meeting this Thursday. And there is no EMS meeting in January. We'll meet again in February.
Okay. I would like to get something to report out.
No, nothing report.
So I would just like to say that I appreciate the confidence that a couple of the board members here have in me. And honestly, I try not to be an egomaniac or a power control person. I only think of what is good for the county, and that's the way I work. So that's the best I can do. Secondly, is there a way that I can take the extra money the board chair gets and spread it amongst the other board members? Can we make a determination to do that?
Certainly nothing today.
Not today.
There's an ordinance that establishes it. It would essentially have to revisit the entire ordinance establishing board.
Can we take a look at it?
If it's the direction of the board to bring that item forward, the board as a whole can direct staff to that item.
Okay. So I would very much like that to happen, if it's okay with the rest of the board.
I actually had already asked that it be brought before the board, and I kind of laid a little low on it, but I think that it is appropriate that be fixed.
I mean, we all work hard in our own ways. Even today is very, very difficult for everybody. So I don't think that.
One of the things that staff has expressed some concerns about this is because this ordinance is tied to other it's tied to a union due, and not due, but union pay that is currently under negotiation. So if this is something that the board wanting to consider a change in, the board may want to consider bringing this forward once all of the negotiations have concluded.
which is frankly why I've been quiet.
Okay.
I appreciate what you're saying, Cliff, but I want to fix the whole thing.
All right. Anything else? Anything else from the public? Go ahead, Bonnie.
Several years ago, I'm not sure how long, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, administrative office as well as members of the board voted themselves to donate 10% of their salary back to the county. I'm not sure how strapped we're going to be with the loss of revenue from the fire. That may be something you all would want to consider. Maybe county employees would want to consider doing something of that sort. That's just a suggestion that would probably be needed to vote on by all the members of the unions. But if we're going to find ourselves in a place where we don't have enough finances to fund our services, that may be something that we want to consider. And I've got some other thoughts about this, but that'll probably be one of my 5-minute rants that I go on. But that might be a consideration for you all to make, that maybe it's time everybody take a cut in pay in order to facilitate the continuance of the services that we need to provide our residents.
Any other public comments? All right, meeting adjourned.